Hello? Hello? 2 seconds. I think we're good, unless YouTube is, fibbing to me. Twitch, YouTube? Okay, we're good, we're good. What is going on, friends? It is, it's today, all day, and that specifically being Thursday. We're a little later than my normal streaming time, because I kind of just wanted to wait until the 0.5.0 update patch notes came out. And they were a little bit later than I thought they would be. I almost went live at the normal time and was just like, oh, well, I'll just wait around. Because I wasn't really feeling up to playing Diablo 4 today. Just with this on the horizon. It's kind of got my full attention, and so I didn't feel right forcing myself to play Diablo 4. So, we'll be reading these patch notes today, which they are... yeah. Well, they're lengthy, to say the least, but this is one of the biggest updates, or the biggest update for any Path of Exile game ever, so, like, it kind of tracks. It's to be expected. So today we're going to read these, and then we're not going to stream tomorrow or the next day, but we will be live 12 hours a day, all of the launch weekends starting on Friday through Sunday, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 12-hour streams, and then I'll be live every day for the rest of the week after that. For like more normal times, like 6 to 8 hours or so, probably. Just to give the first up, or the new update, like a good solid dry. Hello, let's get that out of there. Can't wait for 0.5. Same, Sean. Same. I'm very excited. Trying to think, do I have anything else I need to go over before we start actually reading? I got nothing. So I guess we just read. So, biggest expansion ever. We've seen that before. Well, that infographic before. But the Runes of Aldur League, fresh new economy, classic. In each area of Runes of Aldur League, you will find a remnant, which allows you to craft an item of your choosing by using recipes engraved into the slots on the remnant. Depending on the rune shapes used, you will then face an encounter with tough enemies that you'll need to defeat to claim your item. Honestly, I wasn't 100% clear exactly on how this would work. You decide if you're going to play Monk Martial Artist or you're going to play a Warrior with Facebreaker. Honestly, it would probably be easier to go for like a generic Monk Martial Artist setup than it would be to rely on getting Facebreakers early. That's kind of more second character territory. You're trying to chat, but for some reason your chat box on browsers is messed up. It doesn't have the box tree under things. Actually, now that you mention it, mine doesn't either. Hold on. It's still forked. I mean, good thing I have a mic, I guess. But what's up, Professor? How you doing today? But yeah, I was a little confused by how this would work. So I guess, like, there's just a set number of rune shapes we can put on each one, and there are certain options that we'll have depending on the specifics of that. I don't really know. Remnants start with any number of slots between 2 and 10, with higher numbers being much rarer, but allowing you to craft much rarer items. That's what you're thinking. Start with Monk, then move on to Facebreaker later. Yeah, because we definitely don't know how expensive Facebreaker is going to be, and that's all going to come down to the rarity and how you get it. Monsters raised by remnants can drop Verisium Metal, a new currency. Add a new NPC, Pharaoh, with 4 new quests in the campaign, allowing you to unlock various new crafting features. By the way, I'm like 99% certain. Please hold. Please hold. Where is he? Where is the man? Yeah, this is Pharaoh. And you can't tell me that that is not Egan Kaisarius with a face tattoo. Like, I've never seen them in the same room before. That's the same person. This is what he did after PoE1 ended. Bro got into runesmithing. Anyways, after unlocking Verisium Runeforging in Act 1, this system allows you to add Runic Ward to your armors by spending Verisium. Armors lower than 55 gain Runic Ward with no downside. Yeet, excuse me. Armors above this level trade some of their regular base defenses for Runic Ward, so it's free in the levels. That's good. We can just play with it early on. Add a new defense, Runic Ward. This defense kicks in once you reach 1 life, allowing you to continue to survive while your Runic Ward takes damage. Runic Ward regens independently of your life. I was kind of wondering what would cause that to regen. And is it possible to just like stay on 1 life indefinitely if your ward just keeps trucking on, you know? Added 13 new alloy currency items, which can be unlocked through Remnant encounters after completing Pharaoh's Quest in Act 2. So if we want to unlock the full crafting shit, we kind of do have to interact with the League mechanic as we go, which is not my favorite thing ever, but, you know, it's Path of Exile 2's campaign is a little harder to get through anyways than PoE1's is. So a lot of times in the past, I haven't minded interacting with the League mechanic just because it gives me a little extra power, and that makes the bosses and shit a little easier. So we'll probably end up accidentally doing that. And it won't be a problem. But if this were PoE1, I would hate this. Because in PoE1, I'll just skip all the League mechanics until I get to endgame. But anyways, after unlocking unique Verisium Rune Forging in Act 3, you can upgrade the base type of unique armors that drop at levels lower than 55. Upgrades generally increase base defenses, allowing low-level unique armors to become much more competitive in the endgame. Unique armors above level 55 can still be rune forged to modify their defenses to include Runic Ward at the cost of reducing their other stuff. Unique Verisium Rune Forging has additional properties when used on Kalguran uniques. It'd be nice if they showed us which ones are which. Like, you can kind of get a sense for it based on the aesthetic sometimes, but if we got like a little tag on the like full detailed tooltip, that would be nice. And I think they did mention something about adding a way to tell that. Anyways, 13 ancient runes which can be unlocked to be crafted by Remnant encounters after completing the quest in Act 4. These runes have powerful bonuses specific to each weapon type. Mythical early game runes can be crafted from Remnants to provide significant boosts to level 15 plus. Added 3 fluxes, which can be crafted from Remnants to transform Ayo. We get resistance swapping now? Finally? And we didn't even need harvest. What a time to be alive. Which can be crafted from remnants to transform the resistances on your items from one element to another. This right here, this is huge. This makes life like 10 times easier. That's gonna be great. I'm actually so happy about that. Added 15 meta crafting runes that can be crafted from remnants. 15 of them? How many meta mods are there in PoE1? Like 5? But I think they said something about like some of them can roll new like specific mods from specific pools that don't normally exist, like can roll minion modifiers or something like that, or like other stuff. So that might not just be prefixes cannot be changed or suffixes cannot be changed, stuff like that. Added 60 plus runes that can be created by destroying a unique to make a rune that gains some of its properties. So there's only 60 uniques that works on. Which I think that was another thing Mark said, like, I think it was a specific type of unique that could do it, like Calgaren again or something. So that might be why there's not a full, like, all of them can do it type thing. Anyways, added 15 plus runic ward runes that can be crafted from remnants, adding or modifying properties related to runic ward. Calgaren skills, 21 Calgaren skills can be crafted from remnants. Anime exchange, anime splinters, bitter dead, conductive runes, detonate living. Hold up. What happened to detonate dead? We just skipped the dying part, I guess. Eternal March, Explosive Transmutation, Fragments of the Past, Frost Flame Nova, Grim Pillars, Hollow Shell, Ley Lines, Powered by Verisium, Refutation, Where's Objection? Remnants of Calgar, Repulsion, Runic Reprieve, Skyfall, Triskelion Cascade, Verisium Manifestations, and Voltaic Barrier. Wait, Triskelion Cascade is a skill? I thought it was a, Oh, right, it's like a meta skill. So you socket Triskelion Cascade and you put a different spell inside there. And then it does the funky pattern. Added 8 Calgarian supports that can be crafted from remnants, concussive runes, Fist of Calgar, healing runes, Calgarian Conviction, Rune Forged Blades, Runic Extraction, Runic Infusion, and Scouring Flame. Can't really tell too much about those just from the names. Expedition remnants have been changed into the remnants from the Runes of Aldur League. So Pharaoh will be our ferry through the ocean. Cool. Explore the ocean as you investigate the tombs of fallen Calgarians and challenge them to earn remarkable rewards. Seek out the crater of a fallen star, a meteor of pure verisium, from which you hope to forge objects of immense power. If you can defeat what awaits you there. Oh yeah, I forgot King's March got shit on. There's now a hub area called the Ruins of King's March for the Runes of Aldur to the southeast of your starting location on the Atlas. Logbook mechanic has been changed to an ocean exploring mechanic. Using logbooks now unveils a section of the ocean with a variety of islands to explore. Those are called Grand Expeditions, by the way, and that can only be a reference to the Grand Line from One Piece. And so, naturally, I'm going to be the king of the expeditioners, and that'll be all I'll think about the entire time I'm running logbooks. Or the Grand Expeditions. Or Delve but Sideways. The new unique shield also looks fun. Yeah, Nightfall looks super sick. That one is like a little more predictable how we're gonna get it, so it's probably gonna be pretty accessible. Unless Tool is like super hard to reach, but I don't think she's the head honcho boss of Breach. Yeah, because Zesht was. I don't know. We'll just have to see, but it does look sick. Let's see. Just a bunch of stuff we've already been told in videos. Medved, Varana, and Uhtred join Olroth as the 4 faction leaders available to fight on new islands. Olroth will give you a key that you can use to access the new pinnacle. Excuse me. The new pinnacle boss for the Runes of Aldur. New Runes of Aldur Challenge League includes the first set of challenges. Yes, this is actually a challenge league, not just a new league. Huge. Monumental. And we're going to get full challenge completion on every Path of Exile 2 league ever. We're not letting any of them slip away. These challenge rewards are only obtainable in this league. From the first challenge onwards, and for every challenge after that, you'll receive pieces of the Runes of Aldur totem decoration to display in your hideout. Totem Pole permanently showcases how many of the Runes of Aldur challenges you completed during the league. Yep, this is characters. All your old characters from Early Access launch are still present, but a free passive tree refund has been granted due to the changes. But really, you should try the new league. They're way more fun than just playing the same old character. With 0.5.0, there are standard, hardcore, solo, self-found. Hardcore variations of Runes of Aldur are parented to their standard Runes of Aldur equivalent, meaning if you die in hardcore Runes of Aldur, you can continue in Runes of Aldur. Okay. Standard was not the right word to use there. That's very misleading. They really should have said softcore. Oh, I guess they use standard right there, but standard is standard already has the meaning to PoE2 players or PoE players. Like, I don't like it. Anyways, moving on. Atlas now has fixed points of interest at specific locations, giving you distinct objectives that are easy to find. All League mechanics on the Atlas now have quests that introduce the mechanic and guide you through its various stages up to the Pinnacle boss. All Pinnacle bosses now have quest versions that can be accessed deterministically alongside repeatable, non-quest versions that offer greater challenges. 30 new endgame layouts. Nice. New endgame storyline, The Cataclysm of the Beast. I'm sorry, that's not the name. The Cataclysm of the Beast has invoked an ancient protocol designed to scour for and purge corruption should it ever take hold to this degree. Traverse the Atlas to enter the fortress and activate the gates. Obtain the keys to reach the ancient precursor weapons and disarm them. On completion of your first tower, a fortress will rise from the earth. I wonder what happens if you just don't do the tower. Like, can you choose where your fortress will end up, and like, will there be a meta for fortress locations? That's what I want to know. Maps inside the fortress grant one or more passive points for the Atlas passive tree, entirely replacing the previous one. I'm sorry, entirely replacing the previous method of gaining Atlas points. Significantly expanded the Atlas tree with over 300 nodes. After completing them all the maps in the fortress, you will have enough to fully allocate the tree. I'm very interested to see how that's going to go, honestly. They are giving us some form of player agency or like customizability on the tree through like multi-choice nodes. But I kind of wonder how like in-depth all that's going to be. I mean, this is Path of Exile we're talking about, and they're pretty good at making in-depth skill trees, so like there's a chance. But this is also the very first iteration of that, so we'll have to see. As the entire Atlas tree can be fully allocated, there's no need to allow respecialization for it anymore. Okay. Multi-choice nodes on the tree can be changed between options at any time. I don't think there's no need to allow respecialization. Because, like, what if you change your mind on which way you want to go first? Why not just make it all free? I feel like that's a little simpler, you know? Anyways, many maps in the fortress have ancient modifiers that add or modify the contents of the map. Any maps with modifiers that add secondary content to a map also implicitly add that content to the map as well. Not real sure what that means, but I guess we'll see later. Added 40 plus ancient modifiers that have a chance to appear on any map outside the fortress. Added 3 gateway maps with 2 new bosses that can be used to access different sections of the fortress. So those are the mini bosses. New precursor tower maps have been added outside the fortress, so there's more than like, what, 3 or 4 that we had before? Burning Monolith, along with the Arbiter of Ash, has been moved into the fortress. If only they had moved the Arbiter of Ash into the trash can, because I hate that man. Quest versions of the Crisis Fragments have been added to 2 Enigma chambers inside the fortress. Added 2 new Citadel maps with 2 new bosses that drop keys to the new Pinnacle boss. Specifically the Arbiter of Divinity. So I guess we'll only have to do two fortresses, or I'm sorry, 2 citadels to get the new guy. Maps in the fortress can be alternatively completed by killing the Arbiter of Divinity 5 times to complete different sections of the fortress automatically in order to gain Atlas points. Oh, you fixed it? Your 7 TV was outdated? Oh, is that what's doing it? I do have that, and it was uh blinking at me when I opened Twitch, but I kind of ignored it. Welcome back, Professor, from chat jail, I guess. It's good to see you. I honestly thought it was going to be kill the Arbiter of Divinity one time, and you just get all the Atlas points. But it is really nice that they did give us a way to shortcut all that, because if we would have to do 300 whole maps to get the entire skill tree done, then that would be like actually kind of a lot. Anyways, alongside the Atlas tree, a new system called Masters of the Atlas introduces Ascendancy-style progression for the endgame. Players can align with different masters, such as Yado of the Order of the Jinn, or the Monster Hunter Hilda, each offering unique asymmetric bonuses that can be swapped between maps at will, enabling build-defining bonuses. Each master has 12 nodes, of which 4 can be selected at a time. You can change your selection at any time, presumably for free. All 3 masters can be located at the same time with quick select button to change between each master before you run. They skipped somebody. Who's the third one? Unlock each row of 3 nodes by performing missions for the masters. Okay. Oh, I guess it's Doriani. Fuck that guy. We don't need to know about him. Doriani is unlocked by clearing a corruption nexus. Hilda's is unlocked by visiting Hilda's campsite slightly southwest of your starting location on the Atlas. Jado's Spycraft questline is unlocked by completing an anomaly map near the starting location. Okay. I'm actually really excited to see what the new, like, static layout for the Atlas looks like. Like, I know they kind of showed it, but it would be nice to have my own, to have it in my own hands, I mean. Delirium gets a new storyline. Yo, they gave us... Is this like its own page? No, it's just an anchor on that page. Okay. Now a hub area called the Withered Willow for Delirium to the southwest of your starting point on the Atlas. Maps around this location all contain Deliriums and give you points for the Delirium Atlas passive tree. Actually, this is another thing that I forgot to mention about the passive trees in general. I'm so glad we moved away from adding difficulty to stuff through the Atlas tree. Like not that I don't want any way to add difficulty to stuff through the tree. I just mean like the +1 difficulty to the bosses, like kind of penalizing you for spending your points. It was super annoying. And anytime I was on a character that wasn't like completely able to dumpster stuff at maximum difficulty, and I would have to take points out, and I had to like ignore the little "you have points to spend" button at the bottom left. It was so annoying. Real glad we're probably not gonna have to worry about that anymore. Delirium Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped with many new nodes and existing nodes changed. They kind of went over most of this in the videos. Map bosses in Delirium will always be 100% delirious. Damage and life bonus given to monsters from Delirium has been reduced. Also, wait. But let's actually read this instead of skipping through it. After breaking a Delirium mirror, there is now a progress bar showing how deep you are in the fog and how long you have until the fog clears. Start of the Delirium bar represents your initial location at the Delirium mirror. The end of the bar represents the location of the map boss. There are now a set of new Delirium encounters that can be seen on the Delirium bar. Reaching certain depths will cause colored mirror shards to appear. Walking into them will break them, activating the new encounters. I think that's kind of interesting. It's a little less... I guess it's just a little more direction to what you're trying to do with Delirium. Before it was just running around trying to kill as many monsters as you can and like run into all the mirrors you can find. But now, like trying to rush to get the little extra objectives will be kind of a nice little extra activity. Um, Direction of the map boss can be observed by looking at the fog effect. Moving in the direction of the fog will always lead you to the boss. That's nice. Map bosses in Delirium? Okay. Map bosses. I misread that as Delirium, as like Delirium bosses. I just said, I saw boss Delirium 100%, and I was like, oh yeah, Omnophobia will always be 100%, that makes sense. But no, it's map bosses. Damage and life bonus, we read that. Added 5 new elite Delirium monsters. New sub-area, Loathsome Mire. Loathsome Mire drops 2 new amulet base types that grant 2 instilled notables at the cost of either -1 suffix or -1 prefix. Yeah, that's pretty good. Liquid emotions can now be used to craft additional mods on jewels. These work similarly to greater essences, each having a specific set of mods that will replace a random existing mod on the item. I think I remember hearing them talk about something similar to essences getting added. But I didn't really catch what it was. So it's the liquid emotions, I see. That'll be nice. Completing mirrors now has a chance to spawn grand mirrors on the atlas on a nearby map. Grand mirrors create a duplicate of the map boss in the affected map. Killing both bosses will unlock a new atlas mechanic called the Trial of Madness. After triggering the Trial of Madness, fog will spread from a map of your choosing on the atlas, including a locked simulacrum. While inside the fog, the entire map is delirious, starting at 10%. Killing rare monsters and map boss increases the deliriousness of all maps in the fog. On reaching 100%, the simulacrum will become available. Deliriousness can continue to be increased up to 200% delirious. Does that affect the simulacrum? Rare and unique monsters in delirious maps have a set of new delirious modifiers, giving them strange new abilities. Map bosses of delirious maps can additionally... Oh, by the way, 80% of these are going to be explosions on death. I'm just telling you right now. If PoE1 is anything to go by, they're all just going to explode in different colors. Map bosses of delirious maps can additionally drop a new set of 3 potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on jewels that are not available in the normal jewel mod pool. These emotions can also be used to instill a set of 16 new passive tree notables that are not normally available on the passive tree. So we get the secret ones now. Simulacrum has been updated and is now a 7-wave encounter. Let's go. If we keep this up by like 2030, we'll have it down to like 3 waves, and it won't take 10 years to get through. Completing a simulacrum will now give you a key to face the new Delirium Pinnacle boss. There's a new set of 10 ancient emotions that can drop if unlocked by the Atlas tree. Whoa. There's a new set of 10 ancient emotions that can drop if unlocked by the Atlas tree, which can be used to craft time lost jewels. Okay, so it's probably on the Delirium Atlas tree. There are also 3 ancient potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on time lost jewels that are not normally available in the mod pool. I assume it's also locked behind the same thing on the Atlas tree. Some non-amulet delirium uniques now drop with the Raven Touch modifier, allowing them to be instilled. That's kind of sick. I wonder if that's like a 100% thing, or like you have to farm delirium to get a Raven Touch version of the unique that you want to use type thing. I kind of like the idea of it being random, so you can be all excited when you see it drop, instead of that just having a generic thing across all of them. Anyways, please hold. Need a drink. Throat hurts. Okay, breach. And we get to go to the Monastery of the Keepers, discover the Genesis tree. South of your starting location on the Atlas. I thought the ocean was in the southeast, honestly. I thought everything was going to be like north, or like mostly north. All contain maps around the area all contain breach encounters. Completing these maps gives you points for the breach atlas tree. Tree has been completely revamped. They darn well better still have the thing that lets you get like 10 extra breaches, because that's just about my favorite thing ever. Starting a breach now shows a progress bar. Excuse me. This is basically just saying it breaches the same in PoE2 as it is in PoE1 now. Yeah, Vroom Vroom is back. Genesis tree. Specifically makes rings, amulets, belts, and currency. So it's nice we can actually target the like specific type of jewelry that you want. Because in PoE1, the Genesis tree lets you craft. It has a jewelry section, it has like a gear section, and then a currency section and a mystery section. Oh no, sorry, it's uniques, and then the gear one has like all types of gear, including jewelry. But if they have a way to like increase the rarity of the item that drops, so you can like target unique amulets looking for Defiance of Destiny, or like target belts to target Mageblood or like Headhunter, that'd be real nice. Anyways, nodes on the Genesis tree can be located to affect what items will be crafted. Yes. New nodes are unlocked by using womb gifts to fertilize the tree, basically. 6 new ring-based types that can exclusively be crafted from the Genesis tree, 4 new amulets, 4 new belts, and a new set of caster and minion mods that can be crafted onto rings and belts using the Genesis tree. Catalysts can no longer drop from monsters. These are now solely obtained from the Genesis tree. I'm kind of okay with that, honestly. Added a new set of 12 catalysts that can add new quality modifiers to jewels. I wonder what those will be. This is kind of a lot. Killing monsters in a breach now drops Hive Blood and Womb Gifts and Breach Stone Splinters. Splinters turn into a special Womb Gift when fully stacked. This can be turned in at the Genesis tree to create a Breach Stone. I wonder how much Womb Blood that'll cost. Hive Blood that'll cost, even. New breach domains now spawn on the Atlas. Using a breach stone will reveal the maps inside the domain, allowing you to enter them. Maps inside the domain contain new encounters called breach hives, sky hives, and sky fortresses. Oh, so wait, all of them? Hold up, we gotta go back. The maps around this location all contain breach encounters. So I guess the generic breach encounter is just going to be the stabilized one. Now, at least in that first area. And maybe all of the random ones as well, like through that you find on regular regular like non-breach area maps. Like if you find a breach, it'll probably always be that one. And then if you go to the fancy breach place on the Atlas using the breach stone, then you can get the hives, the sky hives, and sky fortresses. Hives have a series of walls that can be burned by walking through them. Each wall destroyed will increase the number of monsters in the encounter, which can be started in the center. So this is the tower defense one. Sky hives are a new area in which the breach lords have constructed fortresses that you need to assail. Hives contain a challenging multi-wave encounter, so it's the super tower defense. Fortresses are a new area with a new pair of bosses, Tool and Esh. Defeating Tool and Esh will give you a key to access the existing breach pinnacle boss. So that would be Zesh. So yeah, I assume Tool and Esh is where we're gonna get Nightfall from. That shield with the mobility attack thing that explodes and looks super cool. It's kind of interesting that you kill them and you just get a key to go fight Zesh. So Getting one of the breach, getting one breach stone lets you fight both bosses basically. Considering Zesh is like a higher tier of boss over Tool and Esh, it seems. Uh, I would have expected it to be more like killing Tool and Esh gives you like a fragment that you need to go fight this guy, and when you get a certain amount of them, or you get 3 different ones or whatever, then you can go fight him. But I guess I'm not like it's not a bad thing that it's easier to fight the boss more often. Anyways, Ritual's new storyline. Wife lingers as a restless spirit. King of the Mists is being an asshole as usual. New hub area called Kaer Tarth to the west of your starting location on the Atlas. Maps around this location all contain ritual encounters. Completing them gives you points for your tree. Completely revamped, yada yada yada. After completing a ritual altar encounter in a map, locusts will point the way to the next altar. Honestly, huge. The only way they could make it better is if they leave the ritual altar marked on the map when you see it. Which they might already do and I'm forgetting, but that was a common complaint in PoE1. All items in the endgame ritual reward screen are now either uniques or omens. I like that a lot, actually. Any tribute not spent on rewards can now be sacrificed to gain an audience with the king. I like that a lot, too. I may actually enjoy ritual if I'm playing a character that can fight well in those little zones. Killing the King of the Mists now drops a new key. Oh, yeah. Having a deterministic way to get audiences with the king too is like super nice. But killing the King of the Mist now drops a new key, the Head of the King. This key can be used in Kaer Tarth to begin the Rite of the Nameless, which is a new Atlas mechanic in which you choose a series of 5 maps to complete a single continuous ritual. The monsters from each ritual, including the map boss, will reappear in each map in the sequence, making for a very challenging encounter. That is actually insane. So I assume when they say a series of 5 maps for a single continuous ritual, they mean each map in that chain of 5 has its own like 3 or 4 rituals. And then you fight the monsters in the first ritual, kill everything in there, and then those monsters get sent to the second ritual, where you fight the monsters from the first ritual and then the ones you killed in the second ritual as normal. Like it pops up from both, and they just keep stacking up. So by the end of that, if you have 4 rituals per map, you're gonna have 20 rituals worth of monsters and map bosses inside of one of those little circles. It's kind of terrifying, honestly. And that would be up to 5 map bosses in a single encounter. The unique bosses from each map will only appear in the final ritual of each map. Okay, that's probably for the best, honestly. And yes, that is exactly how it works. So it's not just one ritual per map. It's the full complement, and then the last one of the map will spawn all the bosses you have. While choosing maps for the Rite of the Nameless, each map after the first will contain extra modifiers which affect the difficulty and rewards of the rituals during the rite. Hopefully there's nothing build breaking in there. Each map in the Rite of the Nameless awards 1 element of the key used to access the ritual pinnacle boss. What happens if you fail? That's what I want to know. Add a new boss, the Queen in the Mists, available for after locating a specific node on the Atlas tree. This boss can drop 3 new corrupted idols. Freythorn rituals are now prevented from ever showing deferred items to ensure items are not lost if returning to this area on a higher level character. Big brain. That's good. That's good. Fate of the Vol even has been added to the core game. You first encounter a series of 6 ancient beacons in Act 3. Energize them to obtain energized crystals and open a portal to the Val ruins. You'll encounter a second set of 6 ancient beacons in the interludes. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot we still have the interludes to go through. I don't know why I was thinking we wouldn't have to. Either way, they're not a huge deal. Itziri's temple can now be found on the atlas to the northeast of your starting location in the city of Lyraval. Maps inside the city of Lyraval always have energized crystals and grant points for the Fate of the Val Atlas passive tree. I don't know why they don't just call it Incursion. New temple precursor or temple works. Temple precursor tablets that will guarantee Val beacons in your maps if you want to focus on this league. It is no longer possible to prevent a room from being deleted from the temple. Rooms that must be deleted but have other connections will be turned into simple path rooms, preventing the snake strategy. I never wanted to bother learning the snake strategy because it seemed kind of complicated and obtuse, and I didn't want to bother. So I actually just didn't interact with the league mechanic very much last time around. I didn't even fight it serious single time, mostly because I got annoyed anytime the temple would like just destroy 7 rooms after I just got done placing 8 of them. I was like, oh great, this just deleted all of my progress. Great. It might still work like that, so I might not do a ton of this, even without the temple snake thing, but we'll have to see how I feel in the moment. The number of rooms in the temple when first starting has increased to allow getting to Itziri more quickly. Rooms can now be upgraded to tier 4 after unlocking this ability on the temple atlas tree, allowing more specialization into particular room types and encourages more interesting temple layouts. Reward rooms granted from the console after defeating the architect have been significantly improved, with more varieties to unlock in addition to upgrading the rewards of all existing ones. Restricted rooms in Itziri's temple that are accessible will always destabilize upon exiting the temple. Itziri's temple medallions now have their drop rate scaled with the number of paths in the temple, in addition to other rooms, previously only other rooms. Room-based medallions can no longer be used inside of an active temple, so you have to plan ahead. Room-based medallions now display upgrade information when hovered. Medallions now output descriptive error messages when they cannot be placed. We love descriptive error messages. Way better than non-descriptive ones. The default maximum number of energized crystals you can store has been increased to 60, and the maximum number of medallions has been increased to 6. Medallions that increase the number of stored energized crystals or medallions are no longer necessary. That's not how you spell that word. The monster level of the temple now factors in the level of the areas where the crystals used to open it were obtained. Corruption Chamber temple bosses have been updated to add monster modifiers chance instead of additional monster modifiers. It's probably for the best, honestly. Keep things from getting too crazy. Portals created in the Temple of Itziri now create a corresponding portal in the parent Val ruins for ease of access. Val beacons now show a grayed out icon on the minimap when completed. 4 types of infusers. Existing Val infusers are now Val Armorer's infusers, which can be applied to armor. Blacksmith infusers can be applied to martial weapons, while Val Arcanist infusers can be applied to wands, staves, and scepters. Catalyzing infusers can be applied to jewelry. All infusers can only be used on items at or above 20% quality. That will put an interesting amount of demand on catalysts, I guess, for jewelry stuff. Fate of the Val currency items now have a maximum stack size of 5,000 when stored in the wildcard slots in the currency stash tab. Kind of surprised they didn't have that already. Some of the possible outcomes from applying Val cultivation orbs to unique items have been updated. I don't know what cultivation orbs did, but cool, I guess. In series rule, unique staff can now roll 10 to 20% increased life cost efficiency instead of 20 to 40, so that got shit on. In series Splendor also got shit on. Covenant also got shit on. Hate Forge, 16 to 30 maximum range if you used a skill that requires glory in the past 20 seconds. That actually got buffed. Wait a minute, no it didn't. I mean, kind of. It's like a little easier to use, but its upper end is like way lower. Any massive things you should know about? Uh, Probably the single biggest thing so far, at least the thing I'm most excited about, Dakota, is they're adding the ability to swap resistances on gear through the Runes of Aldur League. It's like a new crafting item called Fluxes. And so we'll just be able to make them through the new encounters, and we'll just be able to swap resistances. Like that was honestly not having that after having it available in PoE1 for so long, through the Harvest League, made PoE2 so much more difficult. So you can swap up your character that has 149 cold res and 20 fire res. Yes, well, so if you have a piece of gear that has 40 lightning res, I'm sorry, 40 cold res and 20 lightning res, and your character has 149 cold res and 20 fire res already, you could swap that really big cold res mod into a similar tier fire res mod. So that item would go from being absolutely useless to actually almost solving your fire problem. Basically, it just lets you change the element of what resistance modifiers are on the gear. It's super convenient. It's gonna make life so much easier. And honestly, I can't believe they didn't like call that out on the announcement. It's so huge. Yeah, shopping to get gear to hit 75 on all is tough and tedious. Yes, I agree. And even just finding gear that has like a billion resistance on it, but it's the wrong type. It was always so frustrating. And like I said, me coming from PoE1, where we could already do that, it's just like, damn it, why can't I just swap this around? It would be so good. But now we can. And it's from Runes of Aldur League, which means we'll be able to get that shit pretty often, hopefully. At least during the league. I don't know what level we'll start finding that type of crafting material at, but just the fact that it's in the game at all is gonna have a really, really big effect on gearing. But other than that, we're still going through like the specific league changes, and there's a couple interesting things, but nothing too wild beyond what they already like announced in the videos. For right now, it turns out they are dumpstering like just about all of the Fate of the Vala uniques, which, I don't have any particular attachment to, so I'm not terribly upset. Wrathpith Globe can now roll 8 to 15% increased life cost efficiency. Yep, that one got shit on too. Shackles of the Wretched can no longer roll ailments other than freeze you inflict and are reflected to you. Instead, now being able to roll 10 to 15% increased damage per curse on you. Excuse me. Did a quick, that is to say, 19-hour run through the campaign to refresh yourself on the game, and you just didn't bother trying to balance your res during the campaign? Yeah, I do my best when I'm going through it, but like mostly what I end up doing is I just focus on which type of damage the next act boss is gonna do. So like when I'm getting towards the end of Act 1, I'll like shop around for sapphire rings to get cold res for Geonor. And then like topaz rings for Jamin Ra. And usually I'm kind of set by Act 3, but it is a little bit of a hassle. By the way, that's another thing. I haven't gotten to it in the patch notes yet, and they might not even call out the changes to the campaign on patch notes, but I'm actually so excited for the signposting changes they've talked about. That's going to make the campaign so much faster once you know what to look for. Huge stuff, huge stuff. So the Shackles of the Wretched completely got its identity changed, I guess. It's no longer a self-ailment pair of gloves. It is now a self-curse type of gloves. Which, I mean, cool, I guess. You did twisters for the first time, and as long as you kept their damage up, they kind of just cleared everything for you. Don't die if nothing's left to hit you. True. Who needs defenses if you have enough offenses? That's the classic. I'm wondering if they're gonna nerf twisters. We're gonna find out eventually once I make my way through these damn mile-long patch notes. But hopefully they're still workable, since that seems like it's gonna be a popular option for a lot of people's league starts. But the Vertex can no longer roll +2 to 4 to level of all skill gems. Instead, now being able to roll 3 to 5 to levels of all cursed skill gems. Okay, so that kind of got dumpstered too. Abyss. Omens no longer drop in areas below level 65. RIP. Modifiers to number of chests found now apply to chests found in Abyss. These also apply to the chance to find in Abyssal Depths. So the chance to find in Abyssal Depths does not decrease with more chests in the area. Not sure how those two things are correlated, but good that they don't hurt each other, I guess. Adjusted the damage of the Meteoric Demise Abyss Monster modifier, and Lithomantic Runes from Lithomantic Runes modifier are now active after a longer delay. Kind of okay with that. Meteoric Demise was always a pain in the ass. It was kind of fun because they would just go off screen murdering shit and you level while running around. Yeah, I bet those. I've seen a couple clips. I haven't watched too much gameplay with Twisters, but I have seen a couple clips, and they do look a little bonkers. I'm not really interested in playing them myself because I don't know. I just don't. I don't really like the spear playstyle too much in general. But I'm glad they're fun. Certainly beats how they were when they were released, which is to say they were totally useless. Expedition League has been temporarily disabled on standard leagues due to the integration with Runes of Aldur. So if you want to play, I'm sorry, if you want to use the Recombinator anytime between now and 1.0, I guess you kind of just have to play the league unless you have a boatload of expedition currency laying around. This will be reintegrated into standard after Runes of Aldur is over. You didn't know they were busted. You just want to try out the Spear Lady since you haven't played her. And you want to try out the boss taming. Ah, gotcha. Yes, twisters are totally busted. Which, because the community knows how busted they are, they very well may be nerfed a little bit or a lot of it in these patch notes, but we have yet to see. But also, I'm really excited for boss taming too. My first thought for league starting is going to be Huntress as the spirit tamer or whatever it was, and I'll run the Spirit Bear companion, the boss taming, and then we'll tame the Fire Bear from the Act 2 interlude, and then I'll run around in bear form, so we'll be the Bad News Bears. It's gonna be great. Unless I choose to play Chronomancer, because Chronomancer looked kind of sick after the changes. But I'll have to think about it a little more. Would be odd to nerf them after showing off a Twister focus build in one of the first 0.5 videos. It might seem that way, but that's never stopped them before. I've seen them do weirder shit. Sounds funny you were thinking Twisters with NATO Bird that ruins all your chaos runs. Hell yeah. That's another good option. Can't have too many tornadoes. Recombinator has been disabled. Omen of Recombination has been removed. So everything I just said about the Recombinator in Standard, it's just gone. Never mind. Don't have to worry about it. I guess we can't even do it in the league. Maybe that means they want to rework it. Or, yeah, I don't don't know. Maybe they find a way to do it with runes or something. Forgotten by time, Expedition Tablet has been temporarily disabled from dropping. Expedition explosives now wait to explode until most of the monsters unearthed by the previous explosive have been killed. I don't actually like that. I think it's kind of better if it just overwhelms you if you're not killing them fast enough. Now use currency from your stash to purchase items from expedition vendors. The future is now. What a time to be alive. We have the technology. Currency from stash to purchase items from vendors. That's huge. Other endgame changes. So we've gotten through all the leaks. This is just generic stuff now. With the introduction of the new endgame storyline, the Atlas has been reset. Hello, how's it going? Your existing tablets and waystones will continue to work, so you can continue your progression as normal, but in order to gain points for the Atlas tree, you'll need to do the Origins of Divinity storyline. Everyone's getting reset to that. Which builds got buffed? I don't know yet. We're still on the, like, endgame changes to, like, league mechanics and stuff like that, so character balance is a little further down. I can tell you Chronomancer got buffed. I've heard a lot of people complaining about the changes that they announced for Chronomancer, but I promise you, Chronomancer is way better than it was before. Added support for searching to the endgame Atlas map. They showed this off in the reveal video. It looks so good. Can now zoom out slightly further on the Atlas screen. Huge. 30% damage reduction is pretty good sound. It's very good. I actually saw a ton of people saying that note is not good because you take the deferred damage later. Like the 30% that you reduced hits you later, but the fact that you are taking a 30% smaller hit and you have time to recover in that 4 seconds to take the second or the last 30% of it, it's like I don't know if you played PoE1 at all, Dakota, but it's very similar to an item in PoE1 called Progenesis, which is a flask that would buff you to do basically the same thing, except when hit during effect, 25% of life lost from damage taken occurs over 4 seconds instead. So it's damage over time for 4 seconds, and it's only 25%. I think I'm not sure which one's better between taking some of it, taking it over time, or taking it all at once. Taking it all at once a little later, but you're definitely getting 5% more damage reduction than you get off of Progenesis. And this thing is like turbo expensive. It's so good. It's like life-changing for any build that gets it. So the fact that you can just get that off of the Chronomancer Ascendancy is like, it's bananas. Has that been confirmed? No, and I have had the same problem, or the same thought. 30% damage reduction was its own line. You're correct. And that's the fact that that's its own line is what makes that node still apply to damage over time. Because the second part where you take the deferred damage refers only to hits. So when you take damage from a hit, so all damage you take is reduced by 30%. And then when you take a hit, 30% of that damage gets dealt later. And I've had the same question, whether you take 30% on the new number or the original number. My first thought was it's 30% of the new number. But, like, a lot of calculations in PoE2 will... a lot of calculations in PoE2 that consider a hit's damage before doing something else will consider that number before any mitigation. So, like, reading it, I would think it's the new number. But thinking of other stuff in the game, I would think it's 30% of the entire number. So like you take a 1,000 damage hit, it gets mitigated by 30%, so you take 700 of that 1,000 damage, and then 300 gets applied later. Like I would expect it to work that way rather than the way that's more favorable to the player. You'll never understand how the math works in this game. Right there with you. There's a lot that goes over my head, and it's very hard to keep track of. But we'll just kind of have to see. Excuse me. It could go either way, honestly. Because sometimes they're really good about actually like following what they write to the letter, and other times they just kind of do what they want. It's difficult to tell sometimes. Searching. Can now zoom out slightly further. Now 2 versions of each Pinnacle Boss, Quest version and the Infinite Farm version. As such, primary, secondary, and tertiary Calamity Fragments can no longer be obtained. So how are we getting into the new boss? I thought we still get Calamity Fragments. I don't know, I guess we'll see. Still trying to remember the differences between lines that read more damage versus increased. Yeah, the difference between more and increased is actually very important. And that's actually something I've been meaning to make a video on myself. Because it's a very big deal. But basically, more is called multiplicative, and no matter how much more damage you get, you always get that much more. So like, it's basically never a bad thing to have extra multiplicative damage. It will always give you the amount that it says, and then increased is additive damage, and that is based on like your base damage. So like if you deal 100 damage with a hit, and then you get 100% increased damage, that will go up to 200, and then you get another 100% increased damage on top of what you already had. Then your total damage will go up to 300, and then you get another increased damage. It goes up to 400, which means every extra 100% increased damage you get is less valuable. So there's diminishing returns. Because when you go from 300 damage to 400 damage, you're only actually gaining 33% of your like total damage at that point. But there's no diminishing returns like that with more. That is to say, multiplicative. The term for increased damage is additive damage. Also wish you could see true numbers on the passive tree, like crit will be something like plus 3%, but it's not really 3%. It's 3% of the 5% your weapon has, yeah. You can kind of see that information in the character screen. The character information screen. Oh, no. The skill screen. It's on your skills. So if you open your skill panel and open like the full details, it'll show you your actual like total crit chance somewhere in there. You just can't see what the change will be when you're like looking at the tree, I think. Oh yeah, patch notes. Tablets of the same type may now be used together to increase the amount of the league content that's spawned. The specifics of this are different for each content type. In some cases, adding multiple tablets will increase the size of a single encounter, while in other cases it will increase the number of encounters spawned. So I guess we can get multiple, like more than 3 or 4 rituals. How'd that work with the Delirium? It's nice that we can guarantee bunches of breaches to spawn too. This is actually like a crazy change, now that I think about it. Each empty tablet slot now contributes to the amount of random, non-tablet spawn league content in the area. This means that if all tablet slots are full, you will only see the league content from the tablets you are using. The intent of this change is to make sure that you do not need to complete the atlas trees for leagues you do not intend to run. Because people tend to get salty if they run into something that they're not like spec'd into. because they'll feel like they're wasting their time running it if they're not like fully invested. And that's kind of true to a point, but that's why they're doing this. Am I going to focus on a particular type of in-game content? I'll probably want to unlock all of the stuff for all of them. Like, I'll probably at least do the quest lines. But I really like Breach. I'm interested in Ritual. And I'm probably going to do a fair amount of Grand Expeditions. But it'll all really come down to how my build feels. Like, if my build is really great for clear and I can run through the map super quick, then I'll do Delirium. If my build's a little slow, but kind of tanky, then I'll probably stick in Ritual a little more. That's that kind of decision I tend to make based on my character's performance. Since the Atlas is shared, you might honestly focus on one with each character. That's kind of not a bad idea. I hadn't thought about that. It's kind of cool, actually. Also, they did say they were going to do like smaller month-long event leagues between now and 1.0, but this league is probably going to run for a pretty long time, so you got time. Waystones must now be identified in order to activate them in the map device. Rip the free quantity, I guess. Can I use Orbs of Chance on tablets? Huge. Actually, that is kind of huge. Some items and content now require you to specialize in them through Atlas passive skills, including exceptional items, fracturing orbs, basic, and overseer precursor tablets. So I wonder if fracturing orbs are going to drop anywhere on the Atlas instead of just in like the cleanse maps. Fracturing orbs are very, very good to have. So if they can just drop anywhere, that'd be great. Tablets can no longer be used on maps that cannot have extra content, such as unique maps. League-specific tablets no longer drop from non-map areas, such as Simulacrum, Abyssal Depths, or Twisted Domain. Lower the base chances for essences, as Merry Spirits, Shrines, Strongboxes, Summoning Circles, and Rogue Exiles appearing in maps somewhat, due to the much larger increase now available on the Atlas tree. I think that's fine. But the less as Merry Spirits I have to see, the better, honestly. I can't stand chasing those things around. Atlas passives that reference maps with powerful map bosses now work with Overseer precursor tablets and other sources of powerful map bosses. We're getting other sources of powerful map bosses confirmed. Falling modifiers no longer roll on waystones. They gave us the names of the modifiers, but not what they do. Sick. Whether a map modifier is a suffix or a prefix has been adjusted so that generally prefixes are modifiers that affect a monster output towards the player, and suffixes are modifiers that affect the player or monster defenses. Okay, I kind of like that actually. It does a little bit to prevent like 6 damage mods getting stacked up on the same waystone. So you're not getting smacked by like 600% extra damage as elemental. That's fine. The overpowering waystone modifier no longer causes monsters to have increased freeze buildup, shock chance, or inflict increased flammability magnitude. Now causes monsters to have increased ailment application. That's way easier to say. Waystone modifier bonuses have been updated. Now provide more monster effectiveness, pack size, item rarity, monster rarity, or waystone drive chance, depending on the modifier. These modifiers are multiplicative with other sources, such as those found on the Atlas passive tree. Kinda huge. Again, multiplicative is big. Sorry, I got distracted. Modifiers to pack size now also provide a chance for an additional rare monster to appear in rare monster packs. It's kind of crazy. We like rare monsters. Now it doesn't say they're duplicated. It's just an extra one. Map modifiers that included sources of actually if you get like chance to duplicate rare monsters, and then that pack gets 2 rare monsters. I wonder if you'll end up with 4, like it'll duplicate the whole pack. I don't know. It could go either way. Map modifiers that include sources of increased number of rare monsters or increased number of magic monsters have been updated to only display the number at the header of the map and not also be displayed amongst the explicit modifiers. Thank God. The maps with tons of like a big paragraph of modifiers on it was always super annoying. Have the bonus of quantity of items dropped and experience gain provided by increased monster effectiveness, such as from its Sirius Temple. Functionality of Omen of Chaotic Rarity, Quantity, and Chaotic Monsters have been inverted. Instead of guaranteeing the new modifiers of their type, they instead prevent the modifiers from being of their type. Alright. That's fine, I guess. New Omen of Chaotic Effectiveness. While this item is active in your inventory, your next Chaos Orb will replace all modifiers on Waystone with modifiers that do not grant monster effectiveness. Up to 3 of the above omens may be used simultaneously. I was actually wondering about that, because I thought you could only have 1 omen active at a time. But, yeah. So now you can just guarantee one of them if you really want to roll pack size. Kinda sick. Halved the damage as extra buffs. Halved the damage as extra buffs granted from the following shrines: Freezing, Gloom, Meteoric, and Tempest. You know, in the first half of that note, I was actually very excited, because I thought it was going to half the damage as extra that monsters would get from map modifiers. But no, it's the player gets from those things. Completion of fixed locations on the Atlas is now shared with party members. With the addition of more varied content on the Atlas map, the size of content indicators has been increased by 50%. Waystones have received new 2D art. Ooh, we get a new map icon. Campaign replayability. To improve how long it takes for experienced players to replay through the game in each new league, we've added elements to multiple campaign areas that tell you where to go, if you know what to look for. You can see some examples in this video right here. That is not actually linked properly. But trust is very good. And I'm going to be paying a lot of attention during the campaign to look for stuff like that. Some areas throughout the game have been shortened. Removed the second Dreadnought area, that is to say the Dreadnought Vanguard. The Act 2 boss is now in the Dreadnought. So basically the run up to Jamin Ra is not quite half of its length, because they lengthened the first Dreadnought area by a little bit, and then they removed the second one, so it's like maybe 1 to 1.5 zones rather than 2 full zones. Area order in Act 3 has been somewhat rearranged in order to make progression smoother. Waterway levers have been turned into pressure pads that use simple. Oh, let's go. We love nerfing the waterways. Monster density in the second half of the campaign has been reduced, especially in the interludes, to allow getting through those areas more quickly. Okay, either way, I'm fine with that. Player changes. Bleed damage on players is no longer increased while the player is moving. This change does not affect bleeds that players apply to monsters. I'm not sure why they did that, but I'm totally okay with it. That's fine by me. Your maximum runic ward is now added to your starting honor when beginning a trial of the Sekima. So that's just a free extra boost to your health pool too. The defenses keyword is no longer in use. Existing uses of the word defenses now explicitly refer to armor, evasion, and energy shield. To make it more clear that these modifiers do not apply to runic ward, resistances, block, or other forms of protection. I see where they're coming from with that, because that may not. That's a thing. That's like in PoE1, defenses has always meant armor, evasion, and energy shield. But I guess more clarity is never a bad thing, even if it is a bit more of a mouthful. Please hold. Only a single leech instance per resource can apply at a time. When multiple leech instances are active, only the one with the highest recovery rate will recover you until it expires, after which the next highest recovery rate instance will apply. There's now a limit on the maximum amount of damage a hit can be considered to deal for leech. Hits that deal less than 40,000 total damage are unaffected, but if a hit would deal more than 40,000 total damage, it is treated as dealing only 40,000 damage for purposes of leech calculation. The values of each damage type in the hit are scaled down evenly to reach this limit. This means that extremely high damage hits stop improving leech past a certain point, but increasing your leech percentage will always increase the amount of the resource you're gaining. I'm fine with this. So long as it makes leech make sense. Because if they just say, fuck it, PoE2 leech isn't working, we're going to PoE1 leech, that would not be a good idea. So I'm glad they're still looking for sensible ways to do leech, or not terribly convoluted ways to do leech, let's say. The formula for chance to deflect has been adjusted to provide better scaling with investment into deflection rating with a cap of 95% chance to deflect. Similar to evade chance being capped at 95. New chance to deflect is 150 times 1 minus A over A plus 0.12 times D, where A is attack accuracy rating, D equals defender deflection rating. This makes for a linear path to get to rewarded at higher investments. I'm not going to pretend to understand what that formula means, but I'm just proud of myself for reading the whole thing without stuttering. We got to take the small victories. Parry, shield block, and resonating shield no longer delay heavy stun buildup from decaying longer than expected. I was about to say you don't understand accuracy either. Same. I just keep getting more of it until it says 100% chance to hit on the skill screen. In that same area where it says the crit chance. If it says like 95% chance to hit evasive enemies or something like that, then that's good enough too. Melee attacks can now only apply splash damage once per damaging area. You just do more damage, so when you do hit, they die. I respect that that outlook on the situation. However, playing slams with very long attack times and then like seeing them miss because you don't have enough accuracy rating is so annoying. One build I did was actually before they destroyed Hammer of the Gods. I played a Chronomancer that would spam Hammer of the Gods, and the main screen clear that I did was Earthquake, and I just gave it 1 billion AoE, so it was most of my screen when I would slam Earthquake. And the attack time took forever, and it took like 6 seconds to explode between me hitting the ground and then the actual damage going off, but anytime that shit missed, it was so upsetting. So yeah, I think I actually took the thing that said you can't crit, but you never miss. Just to solve that problem. Does Warrior need to miss? They already feel bad. Real. True and real. You got a point. I lost where I was. Melee attacks can now only apply splash damage once per damaging area. Some attacks create multiple damaging areas during use. For example, Whirling Assault creates multiple damaging areas around you as you move. Okay. Not sure what specifically was causing a problem with that, or like which attack specifically they're targeting with that change, but hopefully it's not terribly debilitating for some stuff. When minions are removed due to resources changing, such as weapon swapping, newer minions are now prioritized for removal over older minions to avoid wasting minion cooldown abilities unnecessarily. It's good to have that priority there. Minions affected by Last Gasp or Tekrad's Revenge lineage support, and totems affected by Unnamed Heartwood Oracle can no longer die during the effect from taking further damage exceeding their maximum life. So I guess they had a second hit point pool that could actually kill them. No longer. Stats worded as, when you collect a remnant, no longer give you the benefits of these stats when an ally shares the effects of a remnant with you. Get fucked. Group players, I guess. Updated the name of the buff that Trinity grants to Affinity, as Resonance is the name of a Keystone passive skill. Okay. Archon buffs are no longer inherently lost when you attack. This is now a property of Elemental Archons specifically. I don't know what Archon is off the top of my head, so yeah. Fine by me. Martial Artist Ascendancy class for Monk. After decades of training, Martial Artist has become a master of illusions. Empowered by the runes socketed into his body, this class creates powerful illusions, summons illusory bells, and excels at using his hands as weapons. The Facebreaker guy. Spirit Walker, not Spirit Tamer. Bound to the Wilds, this class calls upon spirits to answer to her will, granting different abilities aligning with the stag, owl, or bear. Through their guidance, Spirit Walker may subdue even the most formidable beasts, binding them in spirit, or call forth a spectral companion to fight beside her. How about both, I say? These notes are just making you realize there are many more stats you didn't know were in the game, like monsters have leech resist. You don't. I don't even remember how I learned about leech. Oh no, leech resist is mentioned in like the little tooltip for leech, and then you have to like click on the leech resist tooltip to get information about what that is. But yeah, it's like pretty well hidden. I don't even know. Like I kind of thought they were getting rid of leech resist with these leech changes, but there's nothing here saying they did. So maybe that's still a thing. I would say it's probably still a thing. Unfortunately, because it is kind of a weird thing. Like, because basically what leech resistance does is it makes you get less than you would expect. So you get something that says leech 5% of damage as whatever. You hit something and you don't get 5% of that damage as whatever. That's all leech resist serves to do. And I guess it's probably to make it harder to like fully sustain yourself against bosses or in crazy situations or something like that, but I feel like you could solve that by just balancing the numbers differently. Which is something I have the privilege to say because I have no idea how it all works, but I'm sure there's reasons why that's technically difficult. Less than what I expect with a system that determines if I live or die is not great, right? I agree. But I will take this leech system with leech resistance over Path of Exile 1's leech system. I've thought many times about making a video explaining Path of Exile 1's leech system, but I would have to spend so much time figuring it out. It's not good. It's not good. I don't even really know how it is. It's so bad it's like a meme. I think someone once made an hour-long video talking about or trying to explain the leech system. I never watched it, but it's convoluted, to say the least. So anyways, there are a bunch of new lineage supports themed around the new bosses, or newly swapped around bosses. Like, wait, Tool was not in the game before. She was in PoE1. So she still counts as new. There's that many unique new uniques. Yo, what's up, Mr. Kidster? How we doing, sir? New unique item voices. Wait, I forgot. That's in the game now. Huge. Let's actually read these names and see if there's anything I recognize. Bear Script, Pass, and Respite. I wonder if they added the Taming as well, which was a combination of those three. Brutus's Lead Sprinkler, Cat o' Nine Tails. I don't know what these are. Phase Breakers. The Legendary. We know about those. Lore Weave is in the game now. Gonna have to rewatch this later. I will. I got you, sir. It'll probably be like a 3-hour long video, but I got you. If I make a shorter version talking about patch notes, it'll probably be about something specific, or like the few highlights. Can I make a 3-minute one instead? If I talk about only the things I care about, which would be like the resistance swap change, the Chronomancer changes, maybe a couple other things. But yeah, I'll probably try and make a video like that in the next couple days, Dakota. But Kit, I'm sending the full 3-hour VOD of this stream. Mageblood, huge. Mageblood is like one of the craziest items in Path of Exile 1. But it has to do with utility flasks, which are like little temporary buffs, which are not in PoE 1. No, I'm sorry, which are not in PoE 2. So I don't know what Mageblood will do in PoE 2. Maybe like permanent charm uptime would be the closest. The closest analog to that. But having permanent charms would be pretty sick, honestly. Master Domain, Nightfall, we've seen. A Redemption looks super sick. Peripheries nuts. Fucking got him. Split personality aspect they showed off. It looked pretty cool. And voices. Not dabble with charms much. Usually you just have random ones equipped. Yeah. Honestly, that's fair. Most of the time, it's enough to have them do their default thing. It's just like a little nicer to get a little extra off of the explicit modifiers. But if Mageblood is just permanent charm uptime, then people are gonna be very much looking forward. Like optimal charm combinations and like quality and stuff like that. It could be something totally different, like they could take it an entirely different direction. Like charms also have an extra hidden effect that you only get while you have Mageblood equipped, and they're also permanently active, like something like that. Kind of like Gemling Legionnaire has the extra bonuses for quality now. Added 8 new idols that come exclusively from monsters possessed by Asmarian spirits. Added new Minion Splash and Minion Splash 2 strength support gems. Support skills which create minions which strike, causing those minion strikes to have melee splash. I mean, that's nice enough. In the video where when they had Mageblood equipped, there was another item box, same size as rings, but might be placeholder. Was it like a little above the left ring? Or like a little ways above the left ring? Bottom left, not by the rings. Interesting. I'll have to go back and watch it because I didn't notice that. Maybe after we're done reading, I'll go look for that because I did not notice. Fragment Stash tab is now available for use in Path of Exile 2. Let's go. You can hold your fragments, including Breach Splinters, Simulacrums, Audiences with the King, Inscribed Ultimatums, and Barias, as well as tablets. If you previously purchased one in Path of Exile 1, excuse me, it will automatically be made available to you once the 0.5.0 patch is deployed. I love free shit. For those without a Fragment Stash tab, you'll be able to find this in the Stash tab sections of the microtransaction store after 0.5.0 goes live. Added support for build guides. Community creators who write build guides can now create .build files for players to download. When selected in the game client, these will show you everything you need to know for that build, including passive skills to locate, which Ascendancy passive skills to take, skill gems to equip, as well as recommendations for support gems. If I make a build, I will take the effort. I will make the effort to make a .build file. However, people should only import any .build file from me at their own risk because my builds are not known for quality. They're known for comedy, if anything. So no promises that you get anything good out of that from me. Added the ability to quickly search the trade market with an item you have. Also huge. Get shit on Awaken PoE trade. Shift Alt clicking on an item will populate the filters for searching the trade market so you can see the current prices. For rare items, you can enable and disable each modifier to easily determine the effect each one has on an item's price. Yeah, I'm gonna make liberal use of that feature. In party play, you can now quickly revive any fallen party members after defeating the boss. You can now skip dialogue sequences with NPCs by pressing escape. I'm gonna make liberal use of that one as well. Added a reforging bench to the entrance of the Trial of Sekimos. Continued to incrementally improve sound art effects and environments. Yo, Chalupa. We're finally on to balance changes. Let's go. It only took an hour and a half. And we are like 35 to 40% of the way to the bottom. Please hold. I need to drink. Into the Breach skill granted by the Waking Dream notable passive skill. Wait a minute. It will probably help if I can just look at this shit. Chalupa. Into the Breach is... Oh no, it's Waking Dream. Oh, that's just the one that makes the breaches like show up around you. Now Plasma... Wait a minute. Now grant leech 20% of your maximum life to you when collecting a red flame, previously 15. Leech 20% of your maximum mana to you when collecting a blue flame with Chalupa. So that got buffed. Wording of the Into the Breach skill has also been updated to clarify behavior ranges related to flames of Chayula. Into the Breach now applies modifiers to Remnant pickup range to the range at which flames of Chalupa can be seen. This is purely a visual change. Okay. Rip Oil Barrage. Rip indeed, Nate. I have not gotten to that part yet, but my condolences. Blood Mage Vitality Siphon now grants 20% of spell damage leached as life, previously 10%. Fine by me. This is a buff. Now this right here, this is some good shit. Rapid River notable skill has been removed. Its position has been taken by now and again. Rapid River is the recoup effects apply over 4 seconds instead of 8 seconds. Now and again, notable passive has been reworked. Now grants cascadable spells have a 20% chance to echo, and repeatable spells have a 20% chance to repeat. The chances on that are kind of low, but it just kind of stacks with other effects, I would assume. So you just get like extra hits, you know, now and then. And I think they said those are independent of each other. So like, if a spell can both echo and repeat, then I think it does both. Which, you know, nothing wrong with that. The Unbound Encore notable passive has been taking a previous position of now and again. Ultimate command notable. I'm not too worried about the little shuffles, honestly. Ultimate command is time freeze. Unbound Encore is time snap, the one that resets your cooldown. I'm sorry, all of your cooldowns. This is the big shit. Added the new phase form notable passive skill, preceding footprints in the sand, which is footprints in the sand is the rewind one. Phased form grants take 30% less damage, and 4 seconds after being damaged by an enemy hit, take damage equal to 30% of that hit's damage. Again, the question is going to be, is this value considered to be the actual amount of damage that hit dealt to you, or the amount of that hit's damage before mitigation? In most other places in the game, that kind of effect is taken before mitigation. Like the effects on armor that say armor applies to X percent of armor applies to elemental damage as well, or whatever that is. That applies before resistance mitigates any of the thing's damage. Which maybe that's not as close of a analog to that situation to this situation as I thought it was, but either way. It could go either way. Temporal Rift skill granted by Footprints in the Sand notable passive skill has been updated. Now has a cast time of 0.1 seconds, previously 0.5. Now also removes delayed damage from phase form. Huge. So it's actually an easier oh shit button. Because its cast time is 1/5 of what it used to be. Huge. Inevitable Agony skill granted by the Inevitability. This is the curse. It is no longer cursed. This was the curse. And now has a 2-second cooldown. Debuff is now a life loss effect instead of secondary hit damage. And the debuff amount is now displayed on static health bars. Debuff also now instantly culls enemies when total life loss reaches culling strike threshold. That's interesting. And this also was not mentioned in the video, unless it was mentioned very, very quickly and without being very clear about it. So this damage has culling strike, because if the life loss puts them into culling, if the life loss reaches culling strike threshold, then it just activates and kills them. It's not when life loss reaches the bottom of the health bar. So that's kind of I don't think that's how it worked before. So I would call that a pretty significant buff actually. And also since it's not a curse, it kind of like in the demonstration video, it kind of looked like the effect got applied to the monster immediately. Because like when it was a curse, you had to sit the curse on the ground, and then the delay had to go off, and then the curse would detonate, and then the effect would get applied, which was super annoying. The one time I tried it, it was like felt worthless. So if we can just click the button, they get the effect, and then we get to see how much life loss they're actually taking from the ability, and that's kind of like a whole different ballgame. That might actually be worth using at this point. Enemy curse effectiveness no longer applies to this skill, meaning unique enemies have the same effectiveness as previously, while other enemies have less. Debuff duration is now 12 seconds, previously 6 to 8.6 seconds. Quality now grants 0 to 0.5 meters to initial cast radius. Previously, curse zone erupts after a reduced delay. Skill has also received new visual effects. Sands of Time buff granted by Quicksand Hourglass and now grants 1 to 60% increased skill speed. Previously, cast speed. Excuse me. What? Quicksand Hourglass. Where is that? I don't even remember what this does. I saw it. Oh, okay. I forgot. It was the scaling. It kind of goes up and down. That applying to skill speed instead of cast speed gives a Chronomancer a lot more options. I was gonna say, yeah, skill speed. That's kind of a lot, but it's not always active all of the time at that value. It scales up and down over 10 seconds, along with AoE. But to answer your other question, how much have I done much with culling? Not really. Mainly because you found you doing culling strike on spear model, but you found yourself not using it often. When you say culling strike, do you mean an ability that would cull enemies, or did you have the support gems? Oh, okay, yeah, that's I don't remember what the name is, but there are some that do that. I don't really like skills like that in general. Like I don't like looking at an enemy that's at low health and then trying to make sure I kill them with the right ability to collect stuff. But the culling effect in Path of Exile 2 is a little funky because like culling strike as a mechanic is very strong. Like when an enemy's health reaches a certain threshold, kill them instead of like making you kill them the rest of the way. Like that's very good and useful to have. But the weird thing about it is these thresholds are checked before the damage of the hit is applied, meaning you have to get the enemy down to that threshold and then hit them a second time to actually apply culling strikes. So if you hit an enemy, if you hit a normal enemy while its health is at 31%, uh, it will not kill them. It will not cull them. You'll probably still kill the normal enemy in one hit, or in one hit if it's at 31%, but like you're not getting any benefit out of culling strike out of that. And the thing is, in PoE1, the threshold is checked after the damage of the hit is applied. So basically, you could one shot an enemy, like if the thresholds were the same. Then in Path of Exile 1, you could cull a normal enemy in one hit by dealing 71% of its life as damage in one hit, and then it would die. Whereas in PoE2, you deal 71% of an enemy's life as damage. It goes down to 29%. It's in cull range, but you have to hit it a second time with any amount of damage, and the culling strike works. Like it doesn't feel like it's as beneficial. Like with uniques, culling at 5%, like that's probably still effective. It's just again you have to hit them after they get there, which kind of mitigates a little bit of the bonus. If it called with the actual ability you were using, sure, but with the Twister build before you could run over and middle mouse your call keybind, Twister would bounce back and kill him. But if you wanted this effect on any particular ability, you could just put the culling strike gem on it, which does take investment of a support gem. Is there a culling strike too? Also, this only works on rare uniques, but that's most of who you would want to use it on anyways. Gain 20% increased culling strike threshold for 20 seconds on culling with supported skills. It's less about killing them, more about getting green frenzy, the frenzy orbs. Yeah, that's fair. I wonder if there are any ways to get things like that from different. I don't think any of the ascendancies have anything that's like if you call an enemy, gain a charge or have a chance to gain a charge or anything like that. So I think you do have to stick to those abilities. But yeah, it does feel a little clunky, which is why I don't really like those kinds of skills. Nah, you're all good. We're talking about game balance stuff and mechanics and whatnot. This is the time. It's all good. I got distracted looking at this Sansa time thing because I forgot how it works. But yeah, changing this from skill speed to cast speed gives Chronomancer way more flexibility on that node. Like that's workable with way more builds now. Specifically attack builds. Genuine Legionnaire. Crystalline potential notable passive skill has been removed. Added a new notable. Wait, what was crystalline potential? Oops. This one. That one. This one. This one. Plus 10 to quality of all skills. I kind of like that one because that was like the only way to get quality on like others or like other ascendancy skills or stuff like that. It's funny as Chronomancer in the trailers. What made you interested in PoE2 to begin with? You've yet to play her? She was like I mentioned it earlier, but the build I played with Chronomancer where I could spam Hammer of the Gods, it was so good. Well, it was so fun. It was not the highest DPS build by any means, but it was very funny to drop 7 hammers on an enemy and then watch them explode like 20 times each. She was great. We were running around with the dual wielding two-handers, but that build is no longer possible due to balance changes, specifically with Hammer of the Gods, and I'm very upset about it. I'll probably never get over it. But yeah, if you want to try Chronomancer, this is probably a good time. Chronomancer is going to feel so good defensively. Like, just for free, basically. So you lose the plus 10% quality to all gems. Added a new notable passive skill, Essence of Virtue. Grants Virtuous Barrier skill, which while active conjures a glittering barrier that accumulates protective gemstone motes of each attribute type over time, but loses a random mote when you're hit. Yeah, but what do the motes do? They said it in the video, but I did not pay attention to that part because I was waiting for Chronomancer. Advanced Thaumaturgy passive skill no longer grants thaumaturgical dynamism. It instead now grants gem quality, grants socketed skills an additional effect. All gems in the game now have an additional quality stat that can be seen while holding Alt on the gem after picking this notable. People are all sorts of excited about this, but I don't know. It's going to vary in usefulness from skill to skill, so it's going to be kind of hit or miss, I think. Pathfinder, overwhelming toxicity notable now grants 50% less poison duration, previously 35. Running assault notable now grants 30% less move speed penalty from using skills while moving, previously 50. Get shit on, Pathfinder. Was overwhelming toxicity? I haven't played Pathfinder in PoE2. I've not been particularly interested in it. Doubles the number of your poisons that targets can be affected by at the same time. 50% less poison duration. So this is no longer an outright like damage increase then. It's not a damage penalty either, but it's not an outright increase. It's just even. We betting that the face breakers convert with Monk's new fist class that alters gloves? Almost definitely. Mark or Jonathan was pretty no, it was Mark. Mark was pretty enthusiastic about that. Notable, and everyone isn't, well, face breakers are like 100% certain to be popular, especially with the way that they look. Like they look like they're genuinely meant to be a functional endgame thing instead of like kind of a meme. So people are gonna be all over that shit basically, and so they probably would want to make sure that that's impactful when people finally get their hands on it. So I would be very surprised if it didn't do anything, or if it was shit, basically. For Witch Hunter, Obsessive Rituals now grants 50% less armor and evasion. Previously 35% less. Because Witch Hunter needed nerfs. I guess it's a nerf to that thing. I don't know. Maybe there were cases where that was strong, but I've never really heard anyone touting Witch Hunter as the bee's knees, so to speak. It is what it is, though, I guess. Probably would be exploitable, but a unique death scaled like Facebreaker, but continued to scale as it was passed from player to player would be cool. Just grows in value over the season. It's like some fucking My Hero Academia shit. That'd be pretty damn funny, actually. Added 19 new companion-themed passive skills to the passive tree. 9 life recoup speed passive skills to the passive tree. New Archon of Undeath cluster to Witch Sorceress. Ancestral Bond Keystone passive skill now causes placing totems to have no cost and not require consuming charges to place. Still causes totems to reserve 75 spirit each, and now doubles the totem limit instead of removing it completely. So there are limits. But at least you don't have to worry about charges. That's nice, at least. Trusted Kinship Keystone passive skill now grants 30% more reservation efficiency of companion skills and 20% less reservation efficiency of non-companion skills. No longer provides you have 30% less defenses, or companions have +1 each defense for every 2 of that defense you have. So it makes companion skills more efficient, makes non-companion skills less efficient. But it no longer tanks your defenses and buffs your companion's defenses. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It's nice you're not getting penalized by the defenses, but it kind of sucks to get penalized on your reservation efficiency. We'll just kind of have to see if that's worth it. Why are companions and minions separate things? I think companions are they not minions? That was like all companions are minions, but not minions are companions. Yeah, companion is a gem tag used for certain minion skills. Players can only have a limited number of companions summoned at a time. That's why they're their own keyword, is because you can only have a certain amount of any of them. But companions are considered to be a type of reviving minion. So I would expect minion modifiers do apply. But companion modifiers don't apply to non-companion minions. I would say so based on this description. This is another one of those things though, where it's like if someone came in and told me that minion nodes don't actually affect companions, I wouldn't even be that surprised because sometimes they just kind of ignore their own wording like that. But if we're trusting the wording, then yes, minion nodes would apply to companions. It's just that if you're playing Huntress, minion nodes are usually on the top left side, which is pretty far to reach. Val Pact now grants 50% more amount of life leached, 67% less life leech speed, cannot recover life other than from leech, and life leech effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled. No longer provides the life leech is instant or cannot use flasks. That definitely changes things. But it'll be nice you can use flasks on top of stuff, and keeping your leech from being removed when unreserved life is filled is always nice. Actually, unless this cannot recover life other than from leech applies to flasks. So you could still use your life flasks, but they wouldn't do anything. The reason I thought you might be able to get away with it is because in PoE1 recovery, life recovery does not apply to flasks, I don't think. No, it does. I'm misremembering. Because there's a modifier on maps that says 60% less less recovery rate of life and mana and energy shield and stuff like that. That applies to flask recovery. But there's a different mod that says cannot regen life, mana, or energy shield, and that one does not apply to life flasks because life flasks are recovery, not regen. So you still cannot get anything out of life flasks. It's just worded differently. Either way, I'm sure this will have its uses. Reform barrier cluster has been removed. This thing. Energy shield recharge starts when your minions are reformed. Boarding fetish cluster has moved locations and no longer connects to a jewel socket. Honestly, I'm not going to check all these. Storm charge and breaking point cluster no longer connects to a jewel socket. Adamant recovery has been replaced by fortified Aegis, which grants 100% increased armor, evasion, and energy shield from equipped shield. Arcane Mixtures grants 10% increased cast speed if you've used a mana flask recently. That sounds annoying as shit. Instead of 25% increased energy shield recharge rate. Also yet to make good use of jewel slots. Jewel slots are probably like one of the most OP things in the game, honestly. There are a lot of builds that end up just taking like as many jewel sockets as they can get their hands on. The problem is just getting jewels to put in there. Tend to get to maps, but not actually play maps for that long. I wonder how you'll feel in this update with the changes to the Atlas. At least the introduction to the Atlas with all those skills, those quests to do. I hope you enjoy it a little more. Or I hope it keeps you interested long enough to play the end game for a little longer. Honestly, I don't really want to read all of these passive tree changes because I'm not going to know what any of them are because I don't memorize node names for the most part. First, two small spell damage passive skills at the starting area of the passive tree for witch and sorcerers now provides 10% spell damage, previously 8%. That's huge. You think, well, you're at 400 hours now, and honestly, this season sounds like it'll double it over the next 6 months. Hell yeah. I'm glad you're excited for it. I am too, honestly. It's been too long since we played any PoE2 for serious amounts of time. Because I think 0.4 was like 6 months ago or something like that. It was like November or something. Small passive skills granting 10% increased amount of life leech now have values of 8%. Small banner area effect passive skills now grant 12% banner AoE instead of 15. Okay. Unsavored Feast, Timeless Jewel Notable no longer grants 20% instant leech, but if you have at least 200 tribute, now grants life leech is 35% faster if you have at least 100 tribute, previously 25%. Okay. Skill changes. These I can pay a little more attention to because I know a little bit more about a couple of those. Also helps the hype of this season. Has a bunch of friends you play other games with wanting to play PoE2 this season. Let's go. Yes. Indoctrinate them. One of us. Or several of us. I'm so excited for the game to go free to play as well. Like removing that $30 barrier to entry is going to be so good. Skills with a fixed number of projectiles can now benefit from effects that cause projectile count modifiers to apply to something else instead, such as Ricochet 3 support. Skills which have a cost of 0 mana now display this cost, allowing players to distinguish between skills like default attacks, which do not have a cost at all, and thus are unaffected by any plus cost modifiers, from those which do have a base cost, but that cost is 0, which are affected by all plus cost modifiers, even if they add different resource costs, like adding life cost to a skill with a base mana cost of 0. A lot of people have been waiting for free to play, and you think the hype is getting some people to say fuck it and buy it now. Honestly, I could see it. Especially with the 3-week period between the announcement and the release, and all the little YouTube videos and shorts they've been doing to try and hype people up. I think it's probably done pretty well. Hopefully that doesn't mean that they keep making us wait 3 weeks, but at the very least, they have done a good job with the circumstances that are currently at hand. Crossbow ammunition skills now have a base cost of 0, rather than having their cost completely disabled, meaning that effects that add additional costs now apply to them. Why are we nerfing crossbows? Ignites inflicted on targets by oil ground that has been ignited can no longer compound and cannot be compounded with by other ignites from the same skill use. Yo, is this why we were saying rip oil barrage earlier? That sounds like why we're saying rip oil barrage. It's unfortunate, but if that means they got rid of the damn compounding oil burning ground effect when you shoot multiple oil abilities over the same spot, then my graphics card is crying tears of joy right now because that shit was awful. It's a good game. Campaign feels a bit long, but the guiding system they shared seems really interesting. You can cut it down to 15 hours. Honestly, I think it might be even more drastic than that. Depending on how much you want to pay attention to all the little tells. Because like Venom Crypts is a really good example. The tell in that zone isn't going to be super obvious because it's just based on the enemy types you're running into. So like when you run into like dead bodies possessed by snakes, you're getting closer to the quest objective in that zone. But like without any tell like that at all, you basically have to explore that whole zone, and that whole zone is fucking huge. Yeah, the little scorpion monkeys versus the snakes. So now there's like an indication So you just run towards those, and then you can ignore the other 80% of the zone, which would have taken another like 20 minutes by itself. Like, I'm so excited. Like that's one of the things I've been waiting for the longest was like little hidden tells like that. Because I could have sworn in interviews before 0.1 came out, they were saying that they were going to do more stuff like that, and then they just didn't have very much of it at all in the campaign. It was like super frustrating with the way things randomize. So the fact that we'll have it now is so good. Can't tell you how many times you get lost in tribal people's wooden bridge highways. Yeah, that one's also a terrible zone. I spend like at least 15 minutes there every single run. The ritual zone in Act 1 was it I almost had the name a second ago. Anyway, the zone where you fight King of the Mists the first time. I also get lost in there all the time trying to find every single ritual. And so having the rituals tell you where to go instead of making you wander around is another huge time saver. Yeah. The Fire Witch Lady. Both of those zones I think were asked to me. They didn't say anything about the Act 3 one with the Fire Lady, but hopefully there's something. All command skills now have a 50% movement speed penalty during skill use, previously 70. Align Fate granted by Oracle's Fateful Vision now has modifiers cooldown recovery rate also applied to Visage appearance frequency. I'm not familiar with that ability, but good for them, I guess. Trail of half-eaten children along the way. Honestly, I've never wished to see a half-eaten child in my life, but I wouldn't be upset in this case. Ancestral Warrior Totem no longer has a hidden 0.6-second delay between skill uses. Instead, this delay is now 50% of the skill's attack time and is described accordingly on the skill. So it's no longer hidden. But also it could be longer than 0.6 seconds, which is a little annoying. Bone Storm no longer has the sustain tag. Bone Shatter quality now grants 0 to 20% increased attack speed. Oh, instead of 0 to 30. Get shit on, I guess. Comet has gotten shit on. Fire Infused Comet. Has also gotten shit on it. Yeah, pretty heavily. Call of the Week now has Can't Be Evaded. Deals 109 to 281% of attack damage at gem levels 30 to 20. Previously 60 to 156. So that got pretty heavily buffed. Attack speed's higher. Mana cost is lower. And its maximum dash range has been increased. So Call of the Week got a pretty significant buff. Defiance Banner, Dread Banner, and Warm Banner no longer have a movement speed penalty during use. Now a banner aura radius of 6 meters. I'm sorry, a base radius of 6 meters, previously 4.5. Earthquake Aftershocks now deal 184 to 666 of attack damage at gem levels 1 to 20, previously 160 to 580, which is almost a 10% increase from level 1. I'm sorry, no, that's more. It's like a 15% increase, sorry. Thank you for the clip. Eternal Rage can no longer be activated in specific weapon sets. It is now required to be active in both weapon sets and will fail to activate if this is not possible. That's fair, I guess. Feral Invocation no longer bypasses the cooldown of socketed skills. Flame Breath now has an energy gain penalty similar to Incinerate. Oh, yeah, I wonder what they're gonna do to like cast on crit and all that. I forgot that was a problem. Flame Breath, no, we read that one. Fortifying Cry now only consumes one stack when you detonate a shield wall to create a shockwave around each shield wall segment. Fortifying Cry, shockwaves from a single shield wall cannot hit the same enemy multiple times. Shield Wave now deals 5 to 7 added fizz damage per 15 armor on shield, previously 6 to 8. So it got nerfed a little bit. Quality on fragmentation rounds now grants 0 to 2 fragments per shot, previously 0 to 20% more physical damage. I'm not sure if that's a buff or a nerf. I feel like my instinct says that's a nerf. But like, maybe I'm just wrong. It wouldn't be the first time. Either way, it's different. Freezing Salvo now has 34 to 68% more magnitude of chill inflicted and more freeze buildup at gems level 3 to 20. Previously 56 to 107. So Freezing Salvo got its chill magnitude shit on. Gathering Storm now causes perfectly timed dash to explode any Tempest spell on hit, creating a massive shockwave that deals 1 billion attack damage at gem levels 13 to 20. Shock ground is left in the wake of the Tempest shockwave, previously on perfect dash. Oh. So you don't need to hit the perfect dash to get the shocked ground on Gathering Storm anymore. That makes that a very, very, very convenient skill. With a radius of, the shocked ground has a radius of 3.2 meters, turning precise timing into a devastating area clearing combo. Perfect timing shockwaves can now only hit enemies once per use, and no longer interact with objects created by non-Tempest spell skills. Shockwave limit is now 50. Quality now grants 0 to 20% longer perfect timing window instead of 0 to 8 shockwaves per use. So the main reason I'm interested in the shocked ground just being for free on Gathering Storm is the one time I ever played Flicker Strike, I used Gathering Storm to put shocked ground on the ground, and then would use was it Siphon Strike to hit the shocked enemies to get power charges and then start flickering. And it was always super annoying if I fucked up the timing on Tempest Shockwave. So maybe that makes Flicker Strike a little more attractive as an option to try again sometime. Ghost Dance, the interval between gaining Ghost Shrouds is no longer a duration. Now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate also apply to Ghost Shroud gain frequency. The fact that it's no longer a duration means it probably doesn't interact with like increased duration or reduced duration. You enjoyed Flicker in 0.1? Same. I don't know if I played it in 0.1, but I definitely played it in like one of the early leagues. It was a good time. Also now has hit when hit, lose a Ghost Shroud and regenerate energy shield equal to 2% of your evasion rating per second if you've lost a Ghost Shroud recently. So it's 4 seconds of energy shield regen every time you lose a Ghost Shroud. And it would seem that that does not stack, because the phrasing is if you have lost a Ghost Shroud recently. It is not like 2% of your evasion rating per second per Ghost Shroud you've lost recently. So the only condition is losing a Ghost Shroud in the last 4 seconds. Well, what was the old functionality of Ghost Shroud? Where do you even get Ghost Shroud? I thought I knew. Yeah, one hit, consume a Ghost Shroud to recover energy shield equal to 5% of your evasion. No 100 times more than you do. What can I say? I'm a professional. Uh, but no, it's just a matter of time spent looking at it, honestly. And half the time, if I say something that's incorrect while I'm streaming, someone will call me an idiot and tell me what it actually means, or how things actually work. Turns out you can learn a lot by being wrong on the internet. So basically, one Ghost Shroud in the old way would heal you 5% of your energy shield. I'm sorry, 5% of your evasion rating as energy shield. Now you're getting 8% of your evasion rating as energy shield per Ghost Shroud over 4 seconds. But the thing is, like I said, they don't stack. So if you get hit a second time in 4 seconds, then you're just kind of like resetting the timer. So I think that's probably a pretty heavy nerf to Ghost Shroud. Which is fine because I think that one was actually kind of busted. Grim Feast, Grim Resurrection now has a 1 second cooldown. Ice shards from Ice Shot no longer have a 25% more freeze buildup. Ice Strike quality now grants 0 to 20% increased attack speed, probably previously 10% more attack speed. This is a nerf because it's going from multiplicative attack speed to additive attack speed. Even though there's more of it, it's less impactful. It's just busted because ES is busted in general, though. Are they nerfing Energy Shield? I believe so. But I think Ghost Shroud was one of the reasons. I'm sorry, Ghost Dance was one of the reasons that Energy Shield was so busted, because you could recover a shitload of it anytime you got hit if you just had a shitload of evasion rating. And so nerfing Ghost Dance is one of the ways that you would nerf Energy Shield. That's certainly not all of it, but part of it may honestly have been like this stuff in here that from the passive tree, like they may have reduced values on different nodes, but I didn't read over them because I'm not about to like look at every single passive node on the tree. Thought they just weren't gonna have getting to 60k ES be a thing. I mean, that could also be a thing that they're targeting. It's just a different kind of thing. But right now, the recovery for energy shield evasion characters was also pretty damn strong. So I could see why they're doing that. Because it's not like they can just make it so you have to spend 1 billion points into energy shield investment to make it a max of like 8k or like 6k or something like that. Because it still has to be worthwhile to invest into energy shield. So it's just not a simple situation, is all. Lightning arrow, multiple lightning beams are no longer able to chain onto the same target. Get shit on lightning arrow, I guess. Lunar blessing, triggered moonbeams are no longer considered melee skills. That's I've never looked at lunar blessing, nor do I know what a triggered moonbeam looks like. But if it looks anything like the moonbeams in World of Warcraft, I have no idea what that would ever be considered a melee skill. But Cool, I guess. Magma Barrier. Now deals 5 to 7 added fire per 15 armor and evasion on shield. Previously 6 to 8. That also got nerfed a little bit. Mirage Archer and Mirage Deadeye can now be used with channel skills, including Snipe, Plasma Blast, and Detonating Arrow. That's kind of huge. Mirror of Refraction, granted by the Itsiri's rule unique staff, now has modifiers to cooldown recovery rate also apply to mirror appearance frequency. They were like ice attacks. You would have assumed they count as a spell, right? Well, if they were attacks before, then they're still going to be considered attacks. They're just no longer melee. So they may still scale most of the same way. You just would have to not scale melee stuff, I guess. Now this is Oil Barrage. Mana cost has been reduced by 18%. Empowered Oil Barrage now has a mana cost per second equivalent to the initial mana cost of Oil Barrage. Oil Barrage now deals 10% more damage at all levels, while Empowered Oil Barrage now deals 10% less damage at all levels. Empowered Oil Barrage now consumes a power charge every 1.5 seconds to continue channeling, previously every 2 seconds. Okay, yeah, get shit on Oil Barrage. Oh, they were triggered by melee, but wouldn't count as part of the melee. I see. Yeah, like I said, I have no idea where you even get moonbeams. I suppose this would be a good time to learn, wouldn't it? Ah, that's why. It's a werewolf skill. I'm a werewolf hater. In any game where we can play as both a bear and a werewolf. I'm sorry, a werebear and a werewolf. I'm a werewolf hater. Because I can never fathom why anyone would play a werewolf when you can play a werebear. Not that there's anything morally wrong with it. I'm just a werebear enjoyer. Played a wolf drake mix last season. Honestly, I haven't. I never really saw too much mention of the wyvern skills. Were they any good? I think I remember. Actually, no. I do remember seeing the breath attack was kind of crazy. That you just like vomited on the ground. I think I remember seeing people burn down bosses with that. You're trying to do a double element thing, but it ended up just being oil barrage because it did 40 billion damage before patch. Ah, so that's why they're shitting on it. Okay. Well, at least now you'll have a little bit more effectiveness out of normal one without having to bother empowering it. So it's a deserved nerf then? Parry area effect has been changed to more closely match its animation. No longer has bonus attack distance. Still never gonna bother parrying anything ever in my life. Just like in Dark Souls. Poison Burst Arrow, poison duration is now 3 seconds at all gem levels instead of 3 to 4.9. Quality now grants 10% more magnitude of poison inflicted, previously 0 to 20. Get shit on Poison Burst Arrow. Pounce now has a cooldown of 6 to 5.1 seconds at level 3 to 20, previously 4.9 to 4. I mean, okay. You haven't touched it recently, but early in the season it wasn't using orbs correctly, so you could hold it for ages and it ramped hard with gems. Ah, I see. Well, hopefully this change makes it a little more under control, but also still usable. The Ravenous Swarm now has modifiers cooldown recovery rate also apply to swarm spawning frequency. It's nice that they're making cooldown recovery rate apply to different stuff in situations where it may not actually otherwise do anything. It's a little difficult for from readability standpoint, but if it just says this on the gem description somewhere, then I think that's kind of okay. Want to test if the new oil feathers count towards oil projectiles so it can be re-busted? There's only one way to find out, and that's the manual way. Rend fixed a bug where Lightning Charge Rend was scaling twice with levels. The base damage has been increased to compensate. Lightning Charge Rend now deals 130 to 405 instead of 120 to 586. Base damage has been increased to compensate. Oh, at level 1, I guess. Like it's level 1 damage is up by 10%, but it's level 20 damage is like a third of what it. I'm sorry, 2/3 of what it used to be. Rip to that ability, I guess. Resonating Shield now adds 5 to 7 phys damage per 15 armor. So I guess kind of all across the board. The things adding damage per defenses on shields are getting reduced by 1. Rolling Magma now chains 3 times at gem level 1, previously 2. Scaling up to chain 5 times at level 20, previously 4. I don't care what you do to this ability. Grinding Gear games, I will not be league starting Rolling Magma ever. I've had to do it. I did it one time in PoE1, and I hated it. And unfortunately, it's like one of the best skills to league start with, at least like early on. Not a fan. Rolling Slam now has +1 second to total attack time. Previously +1.5. Okay, I thought they added, like, because it said +1. I was like, they're making it take longer, but no, they're removing half a second to the minimum attack time. First Slam now deals 75 to 272, which is lower than it was. Second Slam does also less than it did, because Rolling Slam was too good before. It may actually have been. I just never paid attention to it because I thought the animation was painful to look at. Shattering Spite, granted by its series Contempt, now has 50% less magnitude of damaging ailments to inflict. No longer is life leech from explosions with at least 15 Bloodstone Lances is instant. They buffed Snipe, did they? We'll read that in 2 more notes. Shield Wall got the defenses damage from defenses nerf. Shred quality now grants increased attack speed instead of 10% more. Snipe deals 121 to 312, down from 133 to 343. Explosion now deals 44 to 1449, so yes, that went up. Icy Blast now deals 7064 to 3067. Icy Blast is lower on the low end, but slightly higher on the high end. Now it's 33 to 50% more damage with hits for explosions originating from a unique enemy at gem levels 30 to 20, previously always 50. Icy Blast explosion radius is now 3 meters, previously 3.2, so like... kind of? I mean, I don't know how you trigger Icy Blast, but the normal one, the explosion from the normal one definitely got buffed. Icy Blast is going to feel worse early on and like about the same better later. It's going to feel a lot worse early on though. Because of also losing 17% on the more damage with hits from explosions from unique enemies. I wonder if this is to try and reduce snipe like one-shotting bosses in the campaign or something. I just heard it's what speedrunners use for 3-hour runs. That's probably why they're reducing its power early on in certain ways. Spell Totem can now be used while moving and has received an updated animation. Thank God, because Spell Totem felt awful to use early. I'm sorry, felt awful to use in the last update. I only used it a little because I just couldn't do anything with it. Supercharged Slam now more clearly states that it has a fixed attack time that cannot be modified. Purely a description change. Summon beasts now deal. Summon beasts from Tame Beasts now deal 40% more damage at gem level 9, scaling to 84. Now immediately summons newly tamed beasts if you have enough spirit. So there's no trade-off for that. They just get 40 to 84% more damage. I mean, that's a buff. That's a pretty nice buff. We take those. I wonder if that'll apply to the Spirit Tamer. I already forgot the Ascendancy's name. I wonder if that'll apply to the bosses summoned by the new Ascendancy as well. Because that won't come from the Tame Beast skill. But I wonder if it'll very closely match this skill gem. I don't know. We'll have to see. Tempest Bell can now be ancestrally boosted as though it were a strike skill. That's kind of bonkers. And its maximum number of active bells has been increased to 3, greatly improving its combo potential. I wonder if you can make it summon 3 at once. Said that the bosses had 300% more damage, but you don't know the context. 300% of what? That's a good question. Maybe 300% more damage than what you would generally expect from a normal tamed beast? I don't know. Because that's not all going to be even. It's kind of hard to say. Unless it just has a line on there, 300% more damage. I mean, I guess I'll take it. The Bell Shockwave now deals 45 to 119% of attack damage at gem levels 3 to 20. Previously 60 to 132. And can trigger once every 0.3 seconds instead of 0.25 seconds. I mean, those damage numbers went down, but you can also have 3 times as many at the same time. And it can be ancestrally boosted. I don't think that's a nerfed bell, really. I think that's a toned down 1 bell so that you can have 3 bells. And also boost them with, I don't even remember though, what's the support gem? It's probably just Ancestral Boost. And Ancestrally boosted Ancestrally boosted strikes will target 2 additional enemies. Okay, so I guess if you Ancestrally boost the bell, it'll just drop 3 bells instead of 1. For some reason, I thought strikes also got 30% more damage in AoE, or like some sort of boost like that. So yes, if you put the Ancestral Call gem on your bell, once every 5 seconds, you can, when you drop the bell, it will drop 3 bells. And each of those bells will do slightly less damage than 1 bell did previously, but like triple the bells. It's pretty good. Toxic Growth now fires 5 pustules instead of 4 with a limit of 5, previously 12. Quality now grants fires plus 0 to 1, pustule and limit plus 0 to 1. Do they trigger each other? Probably not. But if you're using a wide-reaching attack with the quarterstaff, then it'll probably be easier to hit all 3. But I mean, it could. They could trigger off each other. There's a non-zero chance it works that way, but there's a non-zero chance it works the other way as well. It's another one of those. We'll just have to see when we get there kind of things. Thrashing Vines, updated description to clarify how frequently it spawns vines. It's not a functional change. Time of need, the interval between blessings is no longer duration. Now has modifiers to cooldown and recovery rate also apply to blessing frequency. And the interval has been reduced to 9.3 to 8.1 instead of 11.3 to 10.1. I mean, okay. That's fine, I suppose. Volcano now has a base crit chance of 8 instead of 5. Kinda huge, not gonna lie. Whirling Assault quality now grants 20% increased attack speed instead of 0 to 15% more attack speed. It's kind of a bummer. Wing Blast. Shockwave now deals 25% more damage at all levels. Time for a Wing Blast build, I guess. Supports Unleash. Actually, you know what? Twister has not been touched. It's like conspicuously missing, I realize now. So I guess the people rejoice. It's Twister, yeah, Twister's not even in here. And I've now lost my spot. Shit. Wait a minute, wait a minute. That one. Twister and Snipe still seem to be the go-to season starters then? Probably. Oh. Snipe will definitely be noticeably worse than it was before. Because it's losing like 150% of its 900 damage, so like a sixth. It's probably still not terrible. But Twister's definitely totally fine, unless they change their minds sometime between now and Friday and they like edit the patch notes to say that they are nerfing it. But at least in this initial version of the patch notes, Twister is still fine. Unleash, Expand, Salvo, and Freezing Salvo supports now all use the same concept of seals instead of each having their own version. This means standardized rules for seals that will be consistent for all cases, resulting in some behavior changes. Sports granting seals now consistently all have the seal category. Okay, that'll probably be a little better because they can do more fun stuff for all of them. Just by adjusting the seal category, I'm okay with that. If it one-shot everything, there's no real change unless the 1/6 makes it not a one-shot. That's true. But hey, making it take 2 shots instead, that's 200, I'm sorry, that's double the time. Yeah, I got no idea. If that'll actually be an effective change or not. Freezing Salvo and Salvo Support previously had an extra restriction that the relevant skill could not gain seals while you were performing that skill. This is no longer the case, bringing them into consistency with other seal mechanics. Salvo previously gave a seal every 2 seconds to a maximum of 3, and 2 provided 2 projectiles per seal. Now gains 1 every second to a maximum of 6, providing 1 projectile per seal, which is the same amount of time, but it just stacks up a little faster. I'm sorry, each seal stacks up faster for less projectiles. That's fine. It'll be a little more consistent. Like for every second you gain 1 projectile instead of every 2 seconds gaining 2 projectiles. So if you like used a salvo gem, I'm sorry, a gem with salvo at like the off second, then you're just kind of wasting a whole second worth of seal buildup and not getting anything out of it. The main thing with Twister just seems it can multiply every time it bounces off something. Is that how that works? I really have not, like I said, I've not paid attention to the gem at all. Just cap that and not touch base damage. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe they're gonna leave it alone for one more league and see if it's as crazy as people are saying it will be. Or if they're okay with it being that level of crazy, you know? Poorly worded, but you just mean a single Twister can hit a boss like 15 times if the arena is tight? Oh. I wonder if that has something to do with the changes they made to like the same area from each attack can only hit once. Maybe that is meant to target Twister. So like the same tornado can't run over a boss multiple times and hit it every single time. Maybe that's what that was meant to target. But also, I could just have no idea what I'm talking about and be completely off base. Because again, I'm not familiar with the way that ability works. Advancing Storm can now support any storm skill under any conditions rather than only spell skills you use yourself. Arjun's Medal now grants 25% chance to load a bolt into all crossbow skills on dealing a killing blow with supported skills. Previously, 100% chance. What a bummer. It's resting in peace at this point. Its Series Impatience can no longer support persistent skills. Imagine shooting a shotgun with a pellet. Pellets don't stop and bounce around for 12 seconds. That'd be pretty crazy. Serious Patience can no longer support persistent skills. I didn't know what that skill does or what that support does anyways. But Terra's Vengeance, when you freeze a target with supported skills for each 2 rage you have, you and allies in your presence gain 1% of damage as cold for 15 seconds. Previously, for each 1 rage you have for 20 seconds. So its scaling got cut in half, and its duration got cut down by 25%. Brink 1 can now be cut as a level 1 support gem, previously level 2. Culmination 2 no longer has combo count loss for supported skills, occurs 50% slower. It now has supported skills lose combo if you generate no combo for 6 seconds, previously 4. Supported skills can now gain up to 10 combo, previously 20, and supported skills now deal 4% more damage per combo, previously 2. So the cap is still 40 if you just build it up twice as fast, and the combo takes longer to wear off. That's a buff. But also, did anyone actually use Culmination? I'm sure someone did. I just never cared to. Corrupting Cry 1 and 2 no longer cause supported skills to inflict corrupted blood, but instead trigger a skill which inflicts corrupting blood. Scale by the level of gem it is socketed into. Huh. So like a separate little detonation goes off that causes the corruption or the corrupted blood? Decaying Hex no longer causes supported curse to inflict decay. Instead, it triggers a skill which inflicts decay scale by the level of the gem it's socketed into. Again, not really sure what they're meaning to accomplish with those changes, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. Dial's Desire now grants plus 5% to quality of supported skills instead of 10. Rip to that thing as well, I guess. Dotary's Undoing no longer causes cursed ground created by supported skills to become hazards. Now causes cursed ground created by supported skills to spawn witch toads on an interval. Ooh, it's the frogs! We can do a frog build in PoE2 now, as well as PoE1. Because those just got, PoE1 just got a frog skill last league. I wanted to play it, but I didn't. I only did 2 builds in the PoE1 league. And I didn't want to bother trying to figure out how to make the toads work. Maybe in PoE2. We'll have to see. Infernal Legion 1 now grants minions from supported skills take 10% of their maximum life as fire damage per second, previously 20. And minions from supported skills ignite enemies within a radius of 1.5 meters as though dealing base fire damage equal to 10% of their life instead of 20. So it's cut in half. And Infernal Legion 2 now additionally grants minions from supported skills have 20% fire res. So level 2 just makes them die slower. Infernal Legion 3 no longer exists. Living Lightning no longer replaces minions when summoning a new one while already at maximum number of minions. Probably makes it a little more annoying to keep 100% uptime on all of them. Morgana's Tempest can now support any storm skill under any conditions rather than only spells you use yourself. So storms are getting a little more flexible. Overabundance 3 now properly describes that it cannot support persistent skills. That sounds like a description change only. Overextend can no longer be obtained. Existing items are unaffected by this change, same as Infernal Legion 3. Pequate's Pact no longer causes the supported skill to inflict corrupted blood, but instead triggers a skill which inflicts corrupted blood. No longer has lose 2% of maximum life per corrupted blood inflicted by supported skills. Instead, it now has supported skills cost 10% of maximum life for each time they've been used recently, up to a maximum of 30. So the penalty seems a little bit more drastic with that one now. But I'm sure it's fine. Rage 1, 2, and 3 can now support minion skills. Huge. Minions can rage. Definitely interested in giving the tamed bosses some rage. That'd be pretty sick. Ratha's Assault now grants supported skills load 4 bolts when you dodge, previously 5, and supported skills load 3 additional bolts, previously 4. Now also grants supported skills have 10% increased attack speed instead of 20, so that got nerfed by a good bit, but it's probably still useful. Refraction now additionally causes supported bandage skills to grant allies deflection rating equal to 15% of their evasion rating, and at level 2 it's 20%. So that's a straight buff. Shot Conduction 2 can no longer be obtained. Is the frog skill a spell? You know someone that will play that? No, it's a support gem. So you put it in a curse ability. You put the support gem in the curse ability, and then when you cast the curse ability, the ground it creates will shit out toads. Static Shock's updated description to clarify that it triggers from shocking hits. Uhtred's Augury now grants +2 to level of supported skills if exactly 2 other supports are modifying them, previously +3. Uhtred's Omen now grants +2 to level of supported skills if exactly 1 other support is modifying them, previously +3. Volt now grants supported skills gain 2 voltaic charge per meter traveled, previously 3. Support skills now also gain 1% of damage as extra lightning damage per voltaic charge. Previously 5% per 10 voltaic charge. So that seems like it got, excuse me, pretty significantly better. Even though the voltaic charge scaling got cut down a little bit. So fine, I guess. We take those. Unique item changes, excuse me. I need a drink. How many more sections do we have, actually? Dear fuck. I'm not going to read every single bug fix, honestly. I usually skip those when we get there. By the way, I also noticed we didn't really get any changes to like cast on crit or anything like that. Comet got a damage reduction by a little bit, but it also didn't get deleted. And I thought cast on crit Comet was like what a lot of people were doing. But I guess it's fine. The Avaternal unique boots no longer grant 10% less movement and skill speed per dodge roll in the past 20 seconds, and now have 250% increased armor, energy, evasion, and energy shield. So way more defenses. Now has your speed is unaffected by slows while sprinting, and gain over encumbrance for 4 seconds when you dodge a roll. Existing versions of this unique can be updated to the new things with Divine Orb, but will not receive any other changes. I don't know what over encumbrance does, but It's probably not terribly dissimilar from this thing. You know, the 10% less movement and skill speed per dodge roll. But at least it only lasts 4 seconds. APEP Supremacy Focus no longer has a faster start of energy shield recharge. The series acuity have been reworked. They now grant increased armor, 100 to 150 maximum life, leech 10% of Fizz as a life, and 10% of physical damage dealt by your hits causes blood loss in Val Pact. They also grant the Herald of the Royal Queen skill. Val Cultivation or outcomes on its ears acuity have also changed. Existing items are not affected by this change. I wonder if that's slow. It's called a Herald skill, but is it like actually a Herald skill? Probably. We'll have to see. Seer and Inheritance unique body armor now grants increased energy shield recharge rate. I'm sorry, 15 to 30 instead of 30 to 50. Oh no. 15 to 30 energy shield recharge rate instead of 30 to 50 faster start of energy shield recharge. Just a slight change to its defenses. Black Flame unique ring no longer has enemies ignited by you take chaos damage instead of fire damage from ignite. It now has Withered You Inflict also Withered You Inflict also increases fire damage taken. Ignite You Inflict deals chaos damage instead of fire damage, and Withered does not expire on enemies ignited by you. Seems like it got a wee bit stronger. Additionally, it now also has 80 to 100% increased ignite magnitude instead of 50, and 60 to 75% reduced ignite duration on enemies instead of 50%. So it's not a unmitigated buff. They did have to reduce the ignite duration a little further. But still, getting increased fire damage taken from Withered seems kind of nice. Although, like, it's also converting the fire damage from Ignite into Chaos, which I guess that Chaos damage would benefit from the default effect of Withered. So I guess, like, if you inflict further Ignites, the fire damage of your hit will be buffed by the Withered, which might then lead to bigger Ignites, or it might not affect the damage of the Ignite at all. It just makes your fire damage hits a little bigger. Ignite's another one of those weird things where, like, the scaling is kind of funky in that certain modifiers don't actually apply to it. You know, like, usually modifiers to the damage an enemy takes do not increase the magnitude of the ignite. Fire damage from hits contributes to the magnitude of ignite, so hits dealing more fire damage inflict stronger ignites. The base magnitude of ignite is fire damage per second equal to 20% of the fire damage dealt by the hit inflicted by it. This is calculated using the final damage dealt by a hit, but not any modifiers on the target that affect how much damage they'll take from the hit. This magnitude is not further affected by any modifiers to the damage you deal. Okay, so yeah. The bonus to the bonus to increased fire damage taken from Black Flame will not affect further ignites, but it will cause withered enemies to take more damage from fire hits. So like if you're not terribly worried about scaling ignite and you're just doing fire damage, then you'll get more damage out of that. Anyways, moving on. Blistering Bond now has fire damage, also contributes to bleeding magnitude, and bleeding you inflict deals fire damage instead of fizz damage, in addition to its other modifiers. I mean, cool. We take those. Brass Dome now has 500 to 600% increased armor instead of 7 to 800. If you hate the item, you can use the Divine Orb on it to make it worse. Carnage Heart now has 25 to 50% increased damage while leeching. Okay, so it's just a buff. Chober Chaber now has +2 to 3 level of all minion skills. Flat buff for Chober Chaber as well, which it kind of needed it, honestly. I tried using it earlier and it was not good. It was not something I could make work. Death's Harp no longer has bow attacks fire 3 additional arrows. Instead, it now has 250 to 330% surpassing chance to fire an additional arrow. Surpassing chance just means for every 100%. Like if you go above 100%, it applies. It's like another chance to fire an extra one. So if you roll a 300% surpassing chance, you will fire 3 additional arrows. But if you roll 330%, then you'll fire 3 arrows and then have a 30% chance to fire a 4th additional arrow. And then if you get that to 400% somehow, then you would fire 4 arrows every single time. So this is kind of a buff if you roll high enough. And then if you use a Valorb on it, it could go even higher than 330. I think it can go like 12%. Can never remember the range. Up to 22% higher. So you could get that close to 400. I'm not going to do the math myself. Yeah, you could get to 400% chance to fire additional arrows if you get real lucky on the corruption. So good for that. Elevore unique helmet now grants charms gain 1 charge per second, previously 0.5, and now provides +1 to 2 charm slots, previously 1. You can upgrade it with a divine orb. Eshtera's Path unique ring no longer has cold resistance, is unaffected by area penalties. It now has +5 to 10 to fire and cold res per equipped item with a lightning res modifier. I've never seen that ring in my life, but cool. Glowswarm unique ring now has using a mana flask grants guard equal to 100% of the flask recovery amount for 4 seconds. Existing items are not affected by this change. I think that's kind of nice. Seems like it could end up being a pretty significant amount of defense. Hollow Mask now grants Wildwood's gift skill, whereas Marian Spirits offer guidance, allowing you to see nearby ancient blooms. Ancient blooms, I think they give you charm charges. They made a video explaining it, but it looked pretty good. Now also now has remnants who create affect allies in your presence as well. I'm sorry, as well as you when collected, and 80 to 100% increased reservation efficiency of remnant skills. Oh no, what it was there's 3 kinds of remnants. 3 kinds of ancient blooms, I guess. One gives you life flask charges, one gives you mana flask charges, and one gives you charm charges. That's what it was. And then you also apply it to your allies. Husk of Dreams. This was also in that same video, I'm pretty sure. Unless if it's the one I'm thinking of. Has been renamed to Reverie. No longer has 20 to 30% increased flask charges gained or flask charges used. Now grants Rite of Restoration and has non-unique life flasks apply their effects constantly. Also now has cannot use life flasks. Recovery from life flasks cannot be instant. Recovery from life flasks cannot be applied to anything other than you, as well as 40 to 6% less life flask recovery. So basically, it kind of tones your life flask down a little bit, but it makes it constantly apply, which is sounds kind of nice in its own way. Harry's body armor now has 100 to 150% increased evasion rating, which is a reduction from 200 to 250. Gain 10 to 20% of damages extra cold instead of 15 to 25. Again, if you hate this item, you can make it worse with a Divine Orb. Keeper of the Arc unique helmet has increased armor and energy shield. Pretty significantly. Levinstone no longer has +1 to level of all lightning skills. Now has a lightning skills chain +1 times. Honestly, It's definitely less useful in general, but getting an extra chain for your skills is way more interesting, like at least visually, than +1 a level of skills. So I'm okay with that. Megalomaniac now drops identified. What? Megalomaniac is the one that gives you a bunch of random passives. Oh no, this is that's in PoE1. What's it do in PoE2? Oh, okay, it's 2 to 3 random notable passive skills. Okay, so it's a little different, but pretty similar. Rip to the market for selling those unID'd. Unforge. The Plague Finger unique glows now cannot inflict elemental ailments. Prize Pain unique ring no longer has deal your thorns damage to enemies who stun with melee attacks. Now has 15 to 25% chance to deal your thorns damage to enemies who hit with melee attacks. Existing items are not affected by this change. Honestly, that kind of changes the time you would want to, or the way you would want to use that, but it's like a little more widely usable as well. So now if you have like, if you just hit really fast, you'll proc the thorns damage eventually, and you don't have to worry about stunning the enemy, which makes it a lot more effective against bosses. So like Thorns Flicker Strike, hello? Maybe not. Radiant Grief now has enemies in your presence are ignited as though dealt 200 base fire damage, previously 100. Okay. Savern's Resolve no longer has a lightning resistance, is unaffected by penalties. It now has 5 to 10 to cold and lightning per resistance per equipped item with fire resistance. I think Savern's Resolve, or this one, is probably a little more interesting than the other one earlier that was the same thing, but per item you have with lightning res. Because there's this node down at the bottom of the tree. Excuse me. That one? Nope. How about the fire-shaped one? Or did they get rid of it? That one? Well, maybe they got rid of it. I thought there was one that gave you like a bonus based on your uncapped fire res, so you were incentivized to stack up a bunch. Maybe that's a PoE1 thing I'm thinking about and misremembering. I mean, there's one right there that's maximum fire res, current maximum cold and lightning. Probably not what I was thinking about though, because I never played Smith. Oh well. Never mind. I take it all back. Seed of Cataclysm unique ring no longer has 30 to 50% increased crit spell bonus. It now has 5% reduced crit spell bonus per critical hit you've dealt with spells recently, and 15 to 30% chance for spell damage with critical hits to be lucky. Existing items are not affected by this change. I'm not going to pretend to do the math on that. I'm sure someone will. And I'm sure it's fine. Sekima's Resolve unique rings have been renamed to Saffron. Oh. I guess that was a thing from Trial of Sekima. So there's one for each of the elements, which yeah, the Zyda's longevity is 5 to 10 fire and lightning res per equipped item with cold res, which we saw the other two as well. Sign Aquo unique glows now have more defenses. No longer has enemies immobilized by you take 20% more damage, and instead now has 30 to 50% increased damage against immobilized enemies. It's a pretty significant nerf. Soul Mantle no longer has reduced totem life. Now it instead now has plus 75 to spirit. So instead of shitting on your shit, it's just better. It gives you bonuses now. Nice. Fallen unique shields cast on block skill now has supported skills cost nothing. Also now has plus 50 to 100 runic ward. Okay, so Svalin's like just better now as well. Xerfia's Genesis no longer has increased charm charges used. It now has 50% of charges consumed by life flasks are granted to your charms. Skills from corrupted gems have increased cost efficiency during any flask effect. And 25 to 50% increased corrupted charms effect duration in addition to its other modifiers. Yo, so Xerfia's Genesis plus the body armor that just keeps your life flask active all the time. Oh, is it Husk of Dreams? No, it's now called Reverie. That's a good combo right there, if you care about charm stuff, I guess. Greater, as for item changes, moving on from uniques. Please hold. Greater and perfect currencies have been made somewhat rare, with transmutation and augmentation being made significantly rare. That's fine. They were pretty common anyways, and they were very powerful. Greater orbs of transmutation and augmentation now with a minimum modifier level of 44, previously 55, making them more accessible. They can now begin dropping in Act 4. Divine orbs are now more common. Okay. Corruption outcome that randomizes the numeric value of the modifiers on an item beyond the normal range now multiplies each modifier based on the current value instead of randomizing the value. Personally, I like that a little more. It's a little... It makes it a little harder to find items that are suitable to be corrupted when going for that outcome. Because now you have to find one that starts with a high roll and then hope you get the right outcome and then roll high on it. But that was already the way I kind of thought of it. And so every time I would think about it, I'd have to remind myself, like, oh yeah, it doesn't matter what the base value was. But now the game just works the way I wish it would have. And so yeah, I don't have to change my thinking at all. Great. But now when you find like a max roll Doomfletch or was it Death's Harp that has the 330% surpassing chance at an extra arrow, that thing will sell for way more than a lower roll one because people want to corrupt it for the possible 22% increase. Sanctifying an item now multiplies each modifier value based on the current value instead of randomizing values. Omen of Corruption can no longer be obtained. Enjoy the ones you got, I guess. Martial weapons and flasks found in the campaign are now more likely to be the highest base type item. Base type available at that level. Overall number of essences found in the campaign has been increased, though the proportion of these being essences of the infinite has been significantly decreased. This will lead to finding more useful essences as you progress. Amount of armor granted by items and modifiers has been increased as you get to higher levels. At level 65, you should have approximately 33% armor, more armor, tapering down to 15% at level 80 plus. Same idea with evasion. Amount of energy shield granted by items is now roughly 8% more at level 65 and unchanged at level 80 plus. So this is just to make your defenses feel a little better as you're reaching the end game without increasing the like super late values too terribly much. Vile Robe armor base type now has 171 base energy shield instead of 184. That's another way to nerf energy shield values. Base armor of existing items will be automatically adjusted, while armor modifiers on existing items can be updated with a Divine Orb. Increase the base weapon range of some martial weapon base types. One-handed maces now have a base range of 1.3 instead of 1.1. Two-handed gets 1.5. Quarterstaves get 1.4. Obliterator and artillery bow base types now have 1.1 attacks per second, so they're even slower. Implicit modifier for Warden and Guardian bows now provides 25 to 35% chance to chain in additional time, previously 20 to 30. Slightly better, I guess. Implicit modifier for Rabid, Fury, and Magi talismans now provides 7 to 10 maximum rage instead of 8 to 12. Unforge. Implicit modifier for Voltfang and Thunder talismans now provides 20 to 30% increased magnitude of shock instead of 15 to 20. I'm sorry, 15 to 25. Alternate quality items from Breach Catalysts may now be salvaged to return a portion of the catalyst's use. I mean, that's nice. The plus level of all melee skills modifiers on two-handed weapons is now 5 at tier 1 instead of 7. And for one-handed weapons, it's 4 instead of 5. All projectile skills on quivers now is 1 level. Plus to level of all gems on attack weapons can now only roll above level 18. So no getting plus to skill levels at level 1 anymore, I guess. I've had it happen before and it was super nice, but it also made it very difficult to upgrade that weapon. Or it made it feel really shitty to change away from that weapon. Added surpassing chance to fire an additional arrow modifiers for quivers. That's kind of nice. Perfect Essence of Battle now provides 3 to level all attack skills instead of 5. On two-handers, and then 2 to all attack skills instead of 3 on one-handed and bows. Essence of Hysteria now grants increased ES recharge rate when applied to foci or whatever the hell it is. It got shit on. Body runes now grant 30, 45, and 60 max life in armor items instead of 20, 30, 40. They give more energy shield in staves and wands. Grant more leech in martial weapons. Mind runes are buffed all the way around. Rebirth runes are also buffed. Yep, all the way around. Same with inspiration runes. Same with stone runes. So I guess all of the base runes are just getting buffed out the ass. Maybe that's a little dramatic. They're getting buffed kind of. They're not like huge value increases, but they are all getting a wee bit better. Except for the level 1 versions of Desert Runes, Glacial Runes, Storm Runes, Robust Runes, Adept Runes, Resolve Runes. Those are all staying the same at level 1, but they're getting better at higher levels. Standard rune bonded modifiers now grant 20 life and 20 mana when socketed in armor items instead of 10. Lesser rebirth runes now grant 4% increased ES recharge rate when socketed in wand or staff. Previously 12%, so those got cut significantly. So rebirth runes are kind of getting shit on because they want to reduce energy shield recharge rate. Creation's Rune of Recovery grants 30% increased ES recharge rate in body armor instead of 50%. Lady Hestra's Rune of Winter only grants its damage bonus against shield or frozen enemies. Rune of Spring only against shocked enemies. Rune of Summer also against ignited enemies only. All idols can now also be socketed into scepters. Egrin is 20% curse duration in scepters. Ishta is 15% cost efficiency when socketed into a helmet instead of 12%. And also 30% mana recovery rate while your companion is in your presence when socketed into a scepter. Idol of Gold is now socketed into boots. I'm sorry. Idol of Gold now is socketed into boots Also grants 50% increased total power counted by war cries instead of 20%. Now grants 15% increased damage for each different companion in your presence when socketed into a scepter. Bonded modifier now grants 30% increased glory generation instead of 20. Max Arius now grants 0.2 flash charges per second when socketed into a scepter. Ralakesh now grants 40% increased armor and energy shield and evasion while your companion's in your presence. So all these things that are giving bonuses to companions in your presence, or they're giving bonuses while your companion is in your presence in scepters. It's like, am I gonna feel like shit trying to play the new ascendancy with anything but a scepter? Maybe, but I kind of don't care because I'm gonna do it anyways. They're not gonna make me change my mind. Damn it. Sirius now grants allies in your presence have 8% increased move speed in scepters. Bonded modifier now grants 20% reduced slow potency instead of 15. Thraldana is in scepters, allies in your presence deal 13 to 27 added attack chaos damage. Bear Idols now grant 10% increased AoE when socketed in helmets instead of 8%. Bonded modifier is now 12% reservation efficiency of companion skills instead of 10%. Nothing about this going in scepters, though. Though it probably should, because they said all idols go in scepters now. I guess they missed that one. Or one of these is the scepter modifier. Oh no, the bonded modifier. Okay, never mind. They're both helmet modifiers. Boar Idol now grants allies in your presence regen 0.5% of your maximum life per second in scepters. Not their maximum life, your maximum life. Previously, allies in your presence regen 8% life. I'm sorry, 8 life per second. Bonded modifier now grants 25% increased Warcry cooldown recovery rate when socketing gloves, so that got buffed over 15%. Cat Idol now grants 25% increased accuracy rating when socketing gloves instead of 15. The bottom modifier now also grants 30% charm charges gained in gloves. Ooh, and again, no scepter modifier there. Fox Idol now has a limit of 1 and grants other socketed idols in this item also grant their bonded modifiers when socketed in body armors. Previously +2 to quality of all skills. Bonded modifier now grants 5 to quality of all skills when socketed in body armors, previously +4 to all attributes. So you can still get some of that quality, but it's just different now. Owl Idol now grants cooldown recovery rate when socketed, more cooldown recovery rate when socketed in foci, whatever it is. 12% instead of 10%, and allies in your presence have increased cast speed in scepters. Previously 8%. I guess this could already go in scepters, and maybe that's why these other ones are not showing scepter modifiers. Maybe they already have them and they're just not showing them because they're not getting changed. The bottom modifier now grants 20% increased effective Archon buffs on you when socketed in foci, the things, the focuses. Maybe we just call them that from now on, because I know how to say that one. Ox Idol now grants 15% increased block chance when socketed in shields and bucklers, previously 10. And allies in your presence have 12 to all elemental res when socketed in scepters, previously 8. Bottom modifier now has 15% for damage of enemies hitting you to be unlucky. I'm sorry, 15% chance for damage of enemies hitting you to be unlucky when socketed in shields and bucklers, instead of 10%. Dear fuck, that's a mouthful. Primate Idol now grants minions have 15% increased max life when socketed in helmet instead of 12. And allies in your presence deal 40% increased damage in scepters instead of 30. Bottom modifier is... Yo, one of the idols got nerfed. Bottom modifier now grants remnants can be collected from 15% further away in helmets instead of 20%. Rabbit Idol is now limited to 1. and grants 12% rarity of items found when socketed in body armors instead of 5%. I thought we were trying to get rid of rarity on stuff, like rarity bonuses on stuff. What the hell? 15% increased spirit when socketed in scepters instead of 10%. Bonded modifier now grants 10% quantity of gold, dropped by slaying enemies when socketed in body armors instead of 5%. Snake Idol now grants 8% curse magnitude when socketed into gloves instead of 5%. And allies in your presence have 10% increased attack speed instead of 8% when socketed in a scepter. Bonded modifier now grants remnants have 15% increased effect in gloves instead of 10. Stag Idol also has a limit of 1 now, and grants projectiles have 15% chance to fork when socketed in helmets, instead of 50% increased Thorn's critical hit chance. Where the hell else are we supposed to get Thorn's critical hit chance? What the hell? The bonded modifier for helmets now grants 30% chance for an additional projectile when forking, instead of Thorn's damage has 40% chance to ignore enemy armor. Excuse me. Is that 30% like in addition to the 15%? I think so. Like the bonded modifiers are from the druid ascendancy. That thing. So like it is in addition to. So I guess that would be a 45% chance for projectiles. Oh no. 15% chance to fork. And then 30% chance for an additional projectile when forking. Okay. I know how to read. So you get a chance to fork at all, and then more projectiles after that. Wolf Idol now grants 15% increased magnitude of bleeding you inflict when socketed in gloves instead of 10%. Allies in your presence have 20% increased crit bonus in scepters instead of 14%. Bonded modifier now grants 25% reduced magnitude of bleeding on you when socketed in gloves instead of 15%. Alright, that's enough idols. The one soul core change is Atmahua's Soul Core of Retreat. No longer grants 30% faster start of ES recharge when socketed in body armor or focus. Instead, it now grants gain additional ailment threshold equal to 15% of maximum energy shield, and additional stun threshold equal to 15% of max energy shield. It's fine with me, I guess. Maximum rage on ruby jewels can now roll between 1 and 2 instead of 1. Sheesh. Increased chaos damage on sapphire jewels can now roll between 7 and 13 instead of 6 to 12. Suffix modifiers granting faster start of ES recharge can no longer roll on Focus's intelligence body armor or jewels. They really are kind of hammering the energy shield recharge business, aren't they? Increased ES recharge rate suffix modifiers can now roll wait a minute. Oh, faster start of ES recharge. I'm getting them all confused because they all say ES recharge. Increased ES recharge rate suffix modifiers can now roll on intelligence body armors. Specifically not the faster start of energy shield ones, though. The implicit modifier on the arcane raiment and sacramental robe body armor is now 15 to 25% increased ES recharge rate instead of faster start of ES recharge. Change does not affect existing items, so enjoy them while you have them in the early access standard league, I guess. The fevered prefix modifier can no longer roll on time lost sapphire and sapphire jewels. I have no idea what these modifiers do based on their names, so we're just going to ignore them. Elf buffering suffix modifier now grants 12 to 15% increased ES recharge rate instead of 36 to 40%. Yeah, they're kind of shitting all over this. The ES recharge rate. Even more as we go down. Of Aldur is worse and worse. Yeah, it's worse at all tiers. Cast speed modifiers on rings and amulets are no longer shared with focuses and wands. For rings and amulets, these modifiers now roll at slightly higher levels. I'm not sure what that means. Cast speed modifiers on rings and amulets are no longer shared with Focus Season 1s. So they're just removing the ability to roll on the non-rings and amulets, I guess. It's just a weird way to word that, I guess. Highest tier cast speed modifier for rings now rolls at level 60, and at level 66 for amulets. I'm sorry. For rings is level 60, for amulets is level 66. Maximum values on these modifiers are unchanged. Okay. When they said modifiers now roll at slightly higher levels, I thought they meant higher values. But no, you need higher item levels to get the highest tier modifiers. Increased banner area of effect modifiers on jewels now have values of 6 to 16 instead of 10 to 20, which this isn't as bad as it sounds because I think they increased the radius, the base radius of aura or of banners. So it's not necessarily the worst thing ever. Desecrated modifiers granting instant leech can no longer roll. Existing items will not be affected by this change. Squire's hybrid physical damage and accuracy modifier on weapons now has a minimum level of 8 instead of 1. Existing items will have their level requirement changed. I really hope there's not some poor level 2 character out there with a weapon that has that, and they're just going to log in after this update comes out and just be unarmed and have no idea what's going on. Journeyman's, yeah, the hybrid physical and accuracy modifiers are just having their levels raised. Accuracy modifiers as well. Gladiatorial helm base type has been renamed to Cassis helm. Oswald no longer undercuts you for the priceless items found in Act 3. Now offering you 3,000, 4,000, and 6,000 gold for each instead of 500, 1,000, 150. What a nice guy. I mean, it's still like an inconsequential amount of gold, but early on, maybe it's worth. I'm still not going to bother with it, honestly. The gold price of weapons for asynchronous trade have been increased by approximately 50%. Y'all better get those rabbit idols so you can get your gold counts up, I guess. Desecrated map modifier of Union is no longer functional. This was a legacy modifier that only existed in the early access leaks. Okay. Culling Strike threshold for... Actually, while I was reading this section, I glanced down and saw Culling Strike mentioned right here. And I was really hoping they were going to say, Culling Strike now kills enemies as soon as they reach the threshold instead of being hit while below the threshold. But no. They're just raising the threshold for normal enemies to 35 instead of 30. Like, it's not nothing. It'll make it more useful, but it's not my favorite change ever. Not the change I would hope to see with Culling Strike. Monster Leech resistance now starts at a later level, and this confirms Leech resistance is still a thing. But they take longer to show up, and values are lower at every level. All monster rarities now have the same amount of Leech resistance. This is a good thing because you'll have like a consistent amount of Leech, regardless of what rarity enemy you're fighting. So, like, it may always be lower than you expect, but at least it won't, like, be fluctuating. Just because you're fighting the wrong type of enemy. So I guess that's a little better. Essence monster packs are now affected by modifiers to pack size. Nice. Ismary spirits that are released from monsters now retain their power and empower other spirits released from the monster. Kinda huge. The beam from the Priest of the Sun will no longer ignore some walls. We love that. You'll now refill some flash charges when Viper and Apoatsi soldiers constrict the size for arena. That's awful nice of them. Burning Dead in Ogum Village now deal a portion of their damage as fire, previously purely physical. Suppose that makes sense. Improve the visuals and telegraphing of the Lightning Doriani's elite monster. I think those are the dudes with the little cannons. At least I hope, because those dudes are a huge pain in the ass. You can no longer enter Plunder's Point until you've turned in all 4 map pieces in King's March. I won't be doing that because it's just a logbook, or a grand expedition as we're calling them now. You now receive a greater mind rune in the Halls of the Dead when interacting with Navali, previously a lesser mind rune. We love that. No longer need to visit the Halani Gates in order to access Trader's Passage if you've already freed Risu. Let's go! That was like... It's not a big deal, but it was a pain in the ass every time you get to Act 2. Because what you would have to do is you would have to go to... You go kill the hyena. I don't remember if you talked to the old lady or not, but you go onto the cart. You go talk to the lady. You talk to the map. You go to Halani Gates. You talk to the lady. You go back to the cart. You talk to the map. And then you go to the place where you free Risu. So by freeing us from having to do Halani Gates, we can just go to town, talk to the lady, talk to the map, go to the Madun Quarry where Risu is, free her, then go straight to Trader's Passage. It saves like a good 2 or 3 minutes. When you get to the start of Act 2. Finally getting channel skills usable for people like you who want to use click to move. Let's go. Are you talking about the Mirage Archer business? Being able to use channel skills? The Mirage Archer and Mirage Deadeye stuff? Either way, I'm happy for you. Added accessibility settings to increase the size of pop-ups. Let's go. Dedicated keybind to perform a dodge roll, which will not. Stuff like Resonating Shield or Flame Breath and whatnot. I got you. Oh, this change right here, I see. For players using click to move, clicking to move while channeling a skill that can be used while moving will no longer interrupt channeling. Let's go. This should significantly improve the usability of skills such as Flame Breath and Incinerate on click to move. Huge. Huge. Added a dedicated keybind to perform a dodge roll, which will not cause the player to sprint when held down. This keybind is unbound by default and must be manually assigned in input options if you wish to use it. That'll be nice for people who really don't want to sprint. Added a show only available option to the hideout decorations list when using mouse and keyboard. This channeling one. Improved visual clarity, load times, and performance on Acts 1 to 3 world maps. Actually huge. If we can get to the point where we no longer ever have to see the little gears when we open the map, I'll be a very happy camper. Additionally, they've been made to more accurately reflect the in-game directionality of area layouts. Also huge. Skill information pop-outs no longer move modified stats to the top of the panel. They are still shown in blue. Not really 100% sure what that's talking about, but it sounds like it makes more sense. So we take those. The notification that shows when an item in your merchant tab shop has sold now displays a different message when the sold item is in a different league. Huge. Reroll button in the ritual UI now pulses when you have free rerolls available. Empowered minions from various modifiers or sources now update the text for minion displayed on the monster. Again, not 100% sure what that means, but we take it. Augment stash tab has been updated and now has 5 sections for the, 160 extra socketables we have. I don't actually have the stash tab yet, and I'm definitely picking it up because we're gonna have so much of that bullshit. Just from the new league mechanic. Marking an enemy now shows the mark on their life bar. All right. Maximum rage, rage loss delay, and rage loss per second are now displayed in the character panel. Increase maximum character limit of search text boxes to 250 characters. We love regexes in this house. It's huge. Copying an item's text now always copies the advanced description format. Searching by an item's text will now match the advanced description format. You can now set favorite trades on the currency exchange when using mouse and keyboard. Can now pin a tracking scroll to your social profile to display to your friends, guild, and party members. You can now preview microtransaction weapon skins in the cosmetic shop without needing the applicable weapon type equipped. We live in the future. The technology is here. You can now preview... Wait, we just read that. Added a top-down camera view for editing your hideout when using a controller. Also sick. Added a feature to quickly change the currency you're currently applying when playing with a controller. Reworked the currency exchange UI when playing with a controller. Improved target selection for items and interactable objects when using a controller. Updated and restructured the options menu. And most importantly, enabled the in-game clock option for PlayStation and Xbox. Huge. Huge. MTX changes. What are we getting enabled here? This league. Arcane, Arctic Crystal, Assassin, Atlantis, Black and White. I have the white armor, I think. Chimera, Colosseum, Curse, Dark Prism, Doomguard, I think I have. Eclipse, Irie, Fire, Fire and Ice, Imperial Eagle, Mage Guard, Malachi, Miracle, Scavenger, Seeker, Twilight, Void Emperor, Vulcan, and Wild. Yo, we get the cloaks. I'm not reading all those. There's a lot of cloaks. Enabled the following existing helmet microtransactions for use in PoE2. Assassin Hood, Black and White Hood, Cursed Hat, Irie Hood, Mage Guard Hood, Scavenger Hood, and Wild Cougar Helmet. Enabled all the remaining portrait frame MTX in PoE2. Let's go. I can use all my supporter packs portrait frames. Enable the existing Originators and Awakeners character effects. Something Fishy, Trapped Wisps, and Not the Bees chest extra effect microtransactions. I have no idea what those are, honestly. Anchor Drop Rare, Finisher Effect, Torture Mace, Mirage Gauntlet, Twilight Helmet, Colosseum Helmet Attachment, Swan Crest, Aquila, Bronze and Silver Marionette character skins now have a second tier that allows you to hide the base character armor. Pilfering Ring and Tracking Scrolls of Crafting now additionally track the Lock and Fracturing Orb items. Tracking Scroll of Headhunting has been updated to also track some new bosses. Nice. Now there's also a good handful of bug fixes in here. However, I don't have any bugs that I'm like particularly interested in seeing solved, and I'm not exactly interested in reading every single one of these. So we're gonna call that a set of patch notes well read. And overall, I'm pretty excited. Things are looking good. Chronomancer's buffs are huge. The new crafting options from Runes of Aldur looks very sick. Specifically, the one I'm most hyped for is the flux items that say transform the resistances on your items from one element to another. That's something that we've been able to do in Path of Exile 1 for a very long time. And not having that option in PoE2 has been just about the worst thing ever. Or has felt pretty terrible, let's say. Maybe not the worst thing ever, but it has felt terrible. So the fact that we are now going to be able to do that in this league is actually going to make gearing, particularly in the early endgame when you're like really trying to get yourself capped up after all the penalties, it's going to make life so much easier. So much more gear is going to be usable. Like even if it doesn't drop with the perfect resistances for you, like it's going to be great, and I'm very excited. I'm really surprised they did not touch Twister. They did not touch any of the like cast on crit or anything like that. They did nerf the shit out of energy shield, or at least energy shield recovery. That's not terribly surprising. Yeah, overall, I'm just really excited to see the new shit. So, I believe that's where we're gonna go ahead and end the stream. I'll probably make some videos talking about the most interesting things to me over the next week or so while we wait for the new update to actually come out on Friday the 29th. On Friday the 29th, when the league does come out, we'll be doing a 12-hour stream, and then I'll be doing a 12-hour stream on the Saturday and Sunday after that. So we'll do 3 hours of 12-hour, 3 days of 12-hour streams in a row, and then I'll be streaming all day. Every day of the following week after that. Probably for less than 12 hours each day by that point. But we're gonna be doing a lot of streaming when the league does come out. So make sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube for if you want to see all that and the videos I'm going to put out over the next couple weeks. If you're watching on Twitch, don't forget to hit the follow button as well. But I believe this is where I'm going to go ahead and end the stream for tonight. So my screen does say that I stream Thursdays through Saturdays, 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That is normal. However, this week I'm not streaming tomorrow or Saturday, just to get ready for all of the streaming we're doing when the league comes out on the 29th. So this will be the only stream from me this week, but I will see y'all all over the place for a ton of time next week. So you have yourselves a good rest of your night, and I will see you on Friday the 29th for Return of the Ancients.